what these public health officials were about. And I tried to get the word out to people, but I do not have access to CNN and all these other places, and they probably would have banned me, like Facebook shadow banned me, and a couple YouTube shadow banned me when I talked about how you could actually fight against the COVID virus by using what is referred to as zinc ionophores. And I mean, we can go through that a little bit later, but I gave a presentation on that about a year and a half ago at the same place, doing it through Zoom. And some of you may have attended, but I've gotten messages that, a lot of the measures that we shared during that time actually came in very handy. And people who did come down with COVID used the exact same uh, herbs that I had suggested, and it helped them tremendously. And we'll go over all of that. But what this session is going to be is that this is going to be a session for everyone to be on the same page. Many times when we come to these lectures, it's kind of, top-down approach where there's a speaker imparting information on you. But all this information is information that is readily available to every one of you all. So more than me giving a lecture, I'm just going to show you my methodology for reaching the conclusions that I've gotten and reaching the solutions that I've gotten and getting the results that I've gotten. And once you understand the methodology, you can apply this to all different aspects when it comes to health, so that you don't have to rely on a guru, a teacher, a leader, or anybody to be able to solve your own health problems, because your health should not be a spectator sport. And what we've done is that we have outsourced our health to people called doctors. But the problem is that the medical profession is failing us. This is the issue. The medical profession, the hospital complexes are failing us. One of the ways that is that of these hospitals across the United States, they now have McDonald's in their lobbies. Major hospitals, they have McDonald's in their lobbies. The food that hospitals feed you when you're sick is an indication to let you know that they do not understand the nexus between nutrition and health. They do not understand the nexus between food and inflammation. They do not understand the nexus between inflammation and health problems. 90% of your health problems are due to inflammation, and I'm going to get into all of that. But I just wanted to lay down the groundwork as to what this conversation is going to be about, so you can get in store for it. I'd like everyone to have handy their smartphones. Have it handy, because we're going to do this together. This is not going to be a situation where I'm just talking at you. We're going to look at all of this together, because you shouldn't believe anything anyone tells you, whether it's me, whether it's Anthony Fauci, whether it's a representative from the CDC who also sponsored the Tuskegee syphilis experiments, by the way, whether it's even your doctors. Many of them, I've had public debates with many of them, and you'd be shocked how little they actually know beyond, graduating for their medical school exams. Many of them do not do supplemental research. Many of them just do whatever they're told by their hospital administration or whatever guidelines are given by the CDC. And I mean, many of you will know that most of them don't know much about health, because they themselves are sick, and many of them are on pharmaceutical medications. I can say right now, I turned 50 last year. I'm on no medications at all. I'm in perfect health. I have great blood pressure, great blood sugar, all of that. And so anyone who's going to talk to you about health, they themselves should be healthy, right? If you have a mechanic that is going to talk to you about your car, your mechanic should not be driving a broken down car that doesn't work, correct? But we actually are more scrutinizing to our mechanics than we are to our doctors. Because when we go to our doctors will take our obligatory blood pressure test. They'll charge you $300 for it, and this is something you could do on your own at home. And they'll tell you, oh, you have high blood pressure. Then they'll prescribe to you a medication and charge you $300 on your insurance. And it is just a revolving wheel. Little do you know, many of the medications that they're giving you have side effects, which are life-threatening side effects. And the problem is that we're not even doing the research with our smartphones to find the side effects of these medications that we're taking. We're leaving it up to our doctors to tell us A, B, C, and D when we're able to read ourselves. And so what this conversation is going to be about is the self-empowerment of people who are unhealthy and people who have unhealthy people in their families and their lives, and how you can get to the solution without having to go through the pharmacological, medical, industrial complex that is interested in profits more than it's interested in your health. And that is the reality. So what we were going to start with is we're going to do a screen share. And back to the mechanic issue, you know, you send your car to a mechanic because your car's not running, the engine won't turn on. And you go to the mechanic says, oh, I have the solution. It's going to cost $2,000. We're going to replace the engine. We're going to have different solutions for your car issue. You get that car, you drive it out the lot, and the car dies within 1 mile, right? Wouldn't you demand your money back from your mechanic? Of course you would. Well, we're more scrutinizing of our mechanics than we are of our doctors. You go to your doctor, they tell you have high blood pressure, they give you medication for it, you come back, you still have high blood pressure, they tell you you're gonna have high blood pressure for the rest of your life. A couple of years later, you come back from taking their high blood pressure medication, and then all of a sudden you've got kidney failure. So you had high blood pressure, now you've got kidney failure. And we keep paying the doctors and paying the doctors. You end up in worse condition over time, but you're seeing someone who's supposed to solve your condition. It makes no sense. Their success rate is very poor. And the reason why we know that is that every year there's more people with heart disease. Every year there's more people with diabetes. Every year there's more people with cancer. We judge people by numbers. Numbers reveal the truth. So if the numbers keep getting higher every year, we can say without doubt that their solutions are a failure. We would apply that logic to any other aspect of life. The public health system is a complete failure. Almost everyone you know who's Black over 40 years old is on some type of medication. This is not normal. It has become normalized that everybody is on pharmaceutical medication. You're not benefiting from it. 1 year you're on one medication, the next year you're on two, because you got to get another medication to deal with the side effects from the first medication. And it goes on and on and on. And many of us in our 60s, we are in worse health than our grandparents were in their 60s. This is the reality. We're getting weaker every year. Every generation, we're getting weaker. All of us knew our grandparents who lived to be in their 80s, 90s, you know, because they lived a different lifestyle and they weren't eating all of this terrible food and they weren't on any of these medications. Especially if you're coming from the South where they were out in the sun more, having gardens, getting fresh air, eating whole foods. Why is it that our grandmothers and our grandparents were stronger than we are in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s? That's a question we got to ask. So let's get into it. I'm going to share a screen. And this is going to let you know about the state of the healthcare system. This is from Johns. Can everyone see the screen? Yes? Okay, this is from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. Anyone can Google this right now on your smartphone. You just put in Johns Hopkins and you put in the word iatrogenics. Okay? And I can show you this on Google right now. Are you seeing the Google or are you seeing the Johns Hopkins screen? Google. Okay. You're going to put in Johns Hopkins. You can put in iatrogenics. Does anyone know what iatrogenics means? Okay. Iatrogenics means death by doctor. That's what it means. Death by doctor. Okay? So if you see it, if you Google this, you'll see a bunch of articles that will come up. You'll see Johns Hopkins study suggests medical errors are third leading cause of death in America. This was on CNBC in 2018, 2016. There's a study, you can click that, but here's a study I have here. It's from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. So these are the fast facts. 10% of all US deaths are now due to medical error, 10%. So 1 out of 10 people who are dying in the United States as of 2016 were due to medical error. That's shocking. The third highest cause of death in the US is medical error. And medical errors are actually under-recognized and under-reported. So it's even higher than 1 out of 10. But let's look at what the study says. Analyzing medical death rate data over an 8-year period, Johns Hopkins patient safety experts have calculated that more than 250,000 deaths per year are due to medical error in the United States. Okay? And they say it is the third leading cause of death. Okay? So what are the other leading causes of death? If we go to the study here, that's the same study, but it is from Johns Hopkins University. It's the same headlines, and they get into the leading causes of death. And it says very clearly what the leading causes of death are. According to the CDC, can everyone see this? Yes. All right. Now, this is a report from 2013, but the numbers, the rating is pretty much still the same. All right. They say 600,000 people died of heart disease. Over 500,000, 80,000 died of cancer. And then 150,000 died of respiratory disease, right? These were the top 3 causes of death. And the newly calculated figure for medical errors puts this cause of death behind cancer, but ahead of respiratory disease. So even before COVID, the number 4, it used to be the number 3 cause of death, was respiratory disease. But death by doctor actually took it over and became number 3, where respiratory diseases became number 4. So this is not me making it up. This is from Johns Hopkins University. So if they're telling you that the first leading cause of death is heart disease, the second leading cause of death is cancer, the third leading cause of death is death by doctor, and the fourth leading cause of death is respiratory illnesses, and after that is diabetes, kidney failure, and so forth. That's very interesting. All of those causes of death, I can stop sharing the screen. All of those causes of death are related to something called metabolic syndrome. What is metabolic syndrome? Let me share the screen with you again so you can see metabolic syndrome. Now, metabolic syndrome is a clustering. Can everyone see this where it says metabolic syndrome? Yes. Yes. Metabolic syndrome, let me make this a little bit bigger. Yes. Metabolic syndrome is a clustering of at least 3 of the following 5 medical conditions: abdominal obesity, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high serum triglycerides, and then all of this is about cholesterol, okay? But these are the top ones, right? Abdominal obesity, high blood pressure, high blood sugar. They all fall under metabolic syndrome, right? And then you'll see this right here where it says insulin resistance. These are the 2 terms that you need to know: metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, because that is what most of your issues are. The good news is that since it's metabolic syndrome, and you see this is what metabolic syndrome looks like: the puffed out gut, the male having almost like female breasts. You see it. This is where the fat storage is. And I'm going to break it down for you all why people are looking like this. Right? And you don't have to look like this. This is the good news, that a lot of this is reversible within 30 days. And I'm going to get into it. So, metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome, you got metabolic syndrome because of the foods that you're eating. The foods that you're eating have a high glycemic index and are inflammatory. What do I mean by that? High glycemic index means that they cause sugar to form in the body. So it's not just eating sugar, but it's eating carbohydrates, particularly simple carbohydrates that usually come from processed food that form into sugar in the body. So what happens? This is what you need to understand about how the human body works. The human body uses two sources for energy. The first source is glucose, sugar, and the second source is fat for energy. Now listen carefully, because once you understand this, you're going to understand the keys to life. And you're going to leave here knowing more than most of your doctors know. And you'll be able to heal yourself, you'll be able to heal your friends, your relatives, and all of that. So this is going to be very programmatic. The body uses sugar first, then it uses fats. The body will use sugar for 12 to 15 hours. After that, the body makes a transition from 12 to 15 hours to using fat for energy. The problem is this: when you are in that 12 to 15 hour window after you eat, you're using sugar for energy, but during that time, your body is in fat storage mode. Did everyone catch that? For the first 12 to 15 hours after your last meal, your body is in fat storage mode, which means that it is also in an inflammatory state for 12 to 15 hours. After 12 to 15 hours, your body makes a transition to use fats for energy. That is when your body is in fat burning mode. Okay? That's very key for you to remember. And the reason why this happened is because as we were evolving as human beings, we didn't eat every day. We did not eat every single day. So your body had to store fat for what they call a rainy day. So your body would use glucose first and then go over into fats based on the fats that were stored in your body during that accumulation phase, that 12 to 15 hours. Weight loss occurs after the 15 hours. Inflammation stops after the 15 hours. The problem is most people in America never go 12 to 15 hours without eating. So what that means is you've never given your digestive system a rest. You've lived to be 60 years old and never gave your digestive system more than a 12-hour break. What happens to any machine or anything that's never been given a rest? It gets worn out. And that is the process of aging. And I'm going to show you the charts, but I just want you to get a framework, because we're going to go over all of these things. I want you to just get a framework of what's happening to you when you eat. The reason why people are so sick in America is because you're eating the bad food and you're eating too often and you're not fasting. And I know that's something hard for a lot of people to take, the whole fasting thing, but we can use another word. It's just called timed eating. You're eating too much. You're never giving your body 12 hours to actually rest. So you're always in fat storage mode. That's why over the years, you start picking up fat all over different parts of your body. But the beautiful thing is when you go after 15 hours of not eating, and you're fasting for 15 hours to 36 hours, you will automatically lose 5 to 7 pounds. And I'm going to show you the charts. But I want to break this down to you, because guess what? Fasting is free. Can't nobody make no money when you fasting. So I guess that's why people don't tell you about it. And this is a sign. This is a sign of people who care. You know that Dr. Baruch cares because this is free. We do this for free all the time, because I believe that this should be free information for our community, because we're suffering so much with heart disease and all of these metabolic disorders that could be reversed with just a 1-2 hour lecture, because you need to understand how your body works. As a matter of fact, there are doctors now who understand the power of fasting so much that there are fasting clinics to reverse cancer, where people just go on water fast and their stage 4 cancer is reversed. And we can talk about that. I have customers, clients that I've worked with. We've been able to reverse their cancer by using these modalities. And we have testimonials that we can share and all of that. So you're eating too much and you're eating the wrong foods. The foods that you're eating have a high glycemic index. They are basically turned to sugar in your body. And here's what I say about sugar. You've heard the saying that many times the answer to your problems, the answer lies right under your nose. Have you all heard that saying? It's right under your nose? You've heard that, right? Yeah. So what's right under your nose, y'all? Your mouth, your teeth. It's right under your nose, right? It's literally right under your nose. Okay, well, your teeth is the hardest part of your body. Your teeth and your bones, correct? Y'all got to speak up. Yeah, cause I know I'm talking to black folks, right? I never seen black folks so quiet in my life. So your teeth are the hardest part of your body with your bones. But guess what sugar can do to your teeth? Sugar can burn a hole in your teeth, and we call it cavities. If sugar can burn a hole into your teeth, imagine what sugar is doing to your soft internal organs. Have you ever thought about that? If sugar can literally burn holes into your teeth, what is sugar doing to your soft internal organs? Remember I said burn a hole. The major cause of all sicknesses, chronic illnesses, is one word: inflammation. What is the root word of inflammation? Flame. And as a matter of fact, anybody who has studied medicine, the easiest way to study medicine is to learn a little Latin. All of the body parts named in Latin, and they put a word after the body part that's named in Latin, and that word is itis. And that is the name for 90% of diseases that exist in the medical parlance. What's the example? Well, what does itis mean? Itis literally means inflammation in Latin. Flame, inflammation. So you just take a body part and you give it the Latin name and you put itis after it, and that is the sickness that most people would be diagnosed with. So for instance, inflammation of the joints is called arthritis. Inflammation of the gums is called gingivitis. Inflammation of the eyes is called conjunctivitis. Inflammation of the skin is called dermatitis. Inflammation of the heart, pericarditis, because the card is the Latin for heart, cardiologist. This is all Latin that they're using. Myocarditis, prostatitis, inflammation of the appendix, appendicitis. You all see, you all catch the pattern? And so let me share this screen here of all of these different illnesses based on body parts and inflammation. Okay, can everyone see this? List of inflammatory disorders. Yes, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Nervous system, encephalitis, myelitis, meningitis. Everyone has heard of these before. In the eye, you see conjunctivitis, different parts of the eye. Retinitis, right? Inflammation of the retina. In the ear, it's just different parts of the ear. And then they'll just put an itis, right? Now let's look at the cardiovascular system. I already named it: myocarditis, pericarditis, vasculitis, phlebitis, capillaritis, inflammation of the capillaries. Respiratory system: sinusitis, rhinitis, pharyngitis, laryngitis. Some of you have heard of these things. Bronchitis. All of these are just the upper parts of the respiratory system and the lower parts of the respiratory system. Then they put itis at the end as a suffix. Digestive system: stomatitis, gingivitis, with the mouth area. Tonsillitis. It goes on. Then the gastrointestinal tract, esophagitis, gastritis. All of this is inflammation. All of it, hepatitis, all of it is in pancreatitis. You all get the point. But the point that I'm trying to make is that is the majority of the illnesses that people are getting is an itis, is inflammation. And so the question is, why has the medical establishment not tried to deal with inflammation, but tried to deal with basically the branch effects of a sickness as opposed to the root cause of the illness? The reason is because they want to be your drug dealer forever. You know, there's some people here from the streets, and the law of being a drug dealer is to keep your customers coming back. A healer and a drug dealer are two different types of people. A healer wants you to solve your problem so he doesn't have to see you again. A drug dealer wants to give you temporary relief so that you can come back again. That is your medical system. You're getting temporary relief so that you can come back again for more until you die. And that is how we're all being treated. We're all being treated as drug fiends, coming back for more. Crack addicts coming back for more to our drug dealer to get temporary relief, but not to get a permanent solution. And I'm gonna say some things, and I'm gonna show you some things that's gonna upset you all. I mean, I can say something real quick just to divert, because I see a lot of women in the room, a lot of sisters in the room. Well, a lot of sisters in the room, I get Black women coming to me all the time with the same issues. These are gynecological issues that women face: fibroids, PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. You have endometriosis. You have, during the menstrual periods, you have excessive bleeding, debilitating cramps. You have infertility. You have breast cancer. You have cysts in your ovaries. You go to your doctor, your gynecologist, and you have fibroids. And the gynecologist will tell you, okay, you got fibroids. There's two options. You can get a myomectomy, which is taking out the fibroid, or the better solution, this is your gynecologist talking to you now, the better solution is a hysterectomy. That way it'll never come back. But the problem is the hysterectomy makes you infertile forever. You'll never be able to conceive. It's actually a form of genocide. And I'm not going to get into conspiracy theory. I'm going to show you all. And you can just come to your own conclusions. You know, and I don't like to even use the word conspiracy theory anymore. because most of the people who've had conspiracy theories about the health establishment have actually come out to be very correct in the last 2 years. So I like to use the word nefarious collusion instead of conspiracy theory. So I like that phrase, nefarious collusion. So now your doctor tells you to get a hysterectomy. But did you know that your doctor gets paid from the insurance companies? And insurance companies will pay a certain amount of money for a myomectomy, but they'll pay more for a hysterectomy. So that doctor is now incentivized to have you do a hysterectomy because they get more money out of it. But did you know that the main cause of most of these gynecological issues is because most of the women who have these problems have one problem, and that problem is that you're estrogen dominant. You've got too much estrogen in your blood because of the diet. The estrogen is coming from the chicken that you're eating. Because the way that they raise chicken, most of the chicken that you eat is female chickens, by the way. They don't kill the males. They use the males to propagate. They kill the females, the hens. And what they do is they pump the hens, the female chickens, with estrogen. So they'll grow quicker, faster. And what happens is that when you eat these chickens, you are eating estrogen too. So a lot of the women here, by the fact that you're eating chicken almost every day, you are taking estrogen unknowingly into your body, and you're getting excess estrogen in your body. The problem is that you're not making enough progesterone at the same time. Progesterone balances estrogen. So if you cut out estrogen-causing foods and the source of the estrogen, and you increase your progesterone, your problems go away. Now, how do you increase progesterone? There is an herb that I do not make. I'm going to start making it because the problem's so big, but it's called Vitex. It is also named chasteberry. And I'm going to share with you something that's going to anger a lot of the women and men in the audience. And I'm saying this because I have a family member who told me she had endometriosis. It was actually my sister. For years, she kept it to herself. And those of you who don't know what endometriosis is when the lining of the uterus basically rips off every month, and there's clumps that come out in the bleeding. And it's very painful for women. And she went to the top gynecologist in Miami, and they told her to get a hysterectomy. She said no because she wanted to have children at some point. And then they put her on Depo-Provera, which basically sterilizes you. It's a patch. It sterilizes you, makes you gain weight, and basically you're sterile for that period of time. And well, with her endometriosis, anytime that time of the month would come, she would be in excruciating pain. So because she went to the top doctor, so-called, she just listened to what he said, as many of you all do. And there's a problem with that. I don't care who the person is, you should always double check whatever you're taking, look into it and do your own research. That's why you have a smartphone. You will have the fingertips to the library of the world in front of you or in your pocket, and many of us are just using it to post selfies on Facebook, right? I mean, you have the library of the world in your pocket, and it's being completely ignored. And I'm going to show you how to use it to your benefit. So my sister told me about her problem, and I'll never forget this because I was driving and I was speaking to her, and she was telling me about her problem. And I was upset that she waited so long to tell me because she knows the type of work that I do, but sometimes family members don't take what other family members do seriously. So I pulled over to a park and I researched her issue. And within 15 minutes, I found the problem and the solution. The solution is right here. I'm going to share the screen with you very quickly. Okay. Does everyone see this? This is on Amazon.com. You could just put in Vitex. This is the brand I recommend, Jaya Herbs. Look how much it costs. $17.36. My sister took this. Within 2 months, she got off of Depo-Provera. And in 2 years, she's been able to have her periods with no pain. And I asked her to have the doctors do a blood test on her before she took this. And I wanted to see what her hormone levels were. And it turned out exactly what I thought. Her body basically was making no progesterone, and she was estrogen dominant. And what Vitex does, chasteberry does, is it causes your body to naturally make progesterone. Progesterone is the balancing hormone for estrogen. So it balances it. So you have too much estrogen, not enough progesterone, you just raise it up and it balances it and it stops the problems that too much estrogen causes. And it was solved for $17.36. Now, here's the deal. She'd been with the top gynecologist for about 4 years. When her problem got solved, she called the gynecologist and said, I'm not taking the Depo-Provera anymore. He said, that's a bad idea. He said, no, but I haven't been taking it for 3 months. And he goes, well, your periods, your endometriosis should be coming in very strong. And she said, no, I don't have it anymore. And he laughed. He said, what do you mean you don't have it anymore? She says, I've been taking a thing called Vitex chasteberry. Have you heard of it? He said, no, I've never heard of it. So they don't even know. They're not even trained. And some of them who do know are now in what you call in a dilemma. What's the dilemma? The dilemma is, to be a doctor, you have to rack up over $250,000 in student loans. You get out, you start practicing medicine, and you've got all types of bills. You've got the loans to pay back. You've got a house to pay for. Maybe because you worked so hard, you want a second house in the Hamptons. Right? You have secretaries to pay. You've got assistants to pay if you run your own office. And you've got patients coming in, and the insurance companies will pay you $10,000 to do a myomectomy procedure, but they're paying $20,000 to do a hysterectomy. Or you could tell the woman who's suffering from a list of those diseases, hey, go try this Vitex that you can get for $17 and then come back to me in a month or 2. Let me know how that works out for you. But guess what happens to that doctor? That doctor goes out of business. That doctor has to shut down their office because they are not able to bill $20,000. So now that doctor has to decide, do I get a $20,000 check out of this patient or get zero by recommending them Vitex? How many doctors, what percentage of doctors do you think would do the right thing? Remember, doctors are human beings. They're human beings. So how many human beings would turn down $20,000 a pop to say, hey, here's a $17 solution I can't make any money from? The majority of people, I think, would fail that test, honestly speaking. Even some of you in the room. Or maybe not y'all in the room. Everybody in the room, there's a good person, there's a special person. Y'all wouldn't do that to each other, right? This is the situation that the medical profession is in. And so it is with high blood pressure and diabetes. And I'm going to show you simple solutions to all of these things that will cost you less than $100. But there's no money in it for the pharmaceutical medical complex. So therefore, they're silent on it. They're either ignorant of it or they are hiding it from you. The ones at the highest levels, they're hiding it from you. They know about it because all of the research I'm about to show you is from the United States National Institute of Health website. They know this information, but it's not readily shared with you. So let's get into high blood pressure. So that's just a side thing. This is just a little goodie I threw in for the sisters in the audience. And I know when I mentioned some of these things, I saw a lot of sisters shaking their heads. It's either happened to them personally or to people in their lives, other women in their lives, whether it's their daughters, their sister, their mother, aunties, their cousin. You don't know how many women come to me with these issues and how many women's issues we've been able to solve by using olive leaf extract to combat the inflammatory response and also Vitex to lower the effects of high estrogen by getting progesterone in the system. And I'm gonna say to all the women, any women suffering from these issues, any gynecological issues, try Vitex and try olive leaf extract and try it for 1 or 2 menstrual cycles. Thank me later. I'm avoiding you all having to do a surgery. I'm avoiding you having to have your womb taken out. And this information is for free, as it should be. Let's get into high blood pressure, y'all. So here's what you all need to know about me. So I'm just a young brother who was born in Africa. I was brought to America at a young age. And my father was a doctor. He was actually a world-renowned surgeon operating out of the Chicago area. And through my father's dietary habits and the stress in his life, being a trauma surgeon, he developed high blood pressure in his 30s and was on high blood pressure medication for the rest of his life because that was what he knew because he was part of the medical establishment. Well, one day my father's knee started to swell up and started having pain in his knees, and he thought it was gout. And he just tried to work with it till one day he just really couldn't walk because his knees were so swollen. He went to his doctor to find out that his kidneys had completely died. His kidneys were gone, and he had to go on dialysis. And for about 6 years, he was on dialysis, and I watched him become a shadow of himself. Now, I went to college, and I majored in science, in neuroscience, because I was going to follow in his footsteps to be a doctor as well. And then I did one summer lab where we were doing procedures on rats. And I really didn't like it, so I decided not to go to medical school. So funny enough, I ended up going to law school and became a lawyer. Practiced law for a couple of years, and I hated it, so I stopped practicing law. But I always had this science background, and so fast forward to around 2014. So I'm just telling you my story, how I got involved in this. I saw a documentary called Run from the Cure. Run from the Cure is a documentary that you can see on YouTube. And it was about a man named Rick Simpson in Canada who was reversing the cancer of over 1,000 people. People who had stage 4 cancer were sent home to die. He reversed it with cannabis oil. It's called Run from the Cure. And he has an oil named after him. It's called Rick Simpson oil. But in this, he showed how he was extracting the oil from the cannabis plant. And he was using paint thinner because it's a hydrocarbon. And so I was living in the Caribbean at the time. I was living in the Virgin Islands, where in the Caribbean, getting cannabis is very easy to get. So I started doing my own experience. I thought it was earth shattering that, like, here you got somebody on record with testimonials of real people talking about their cancer and how they no longer have cancer and they were sent home to die, and they were sent home in palliative care and just to die. And so they tried Rick Simpson's cannabis oil and they're still alive with no traces of cancer. I thought this should be stopping the world in terms of news. It didn't. But I started doing my own research and I found that instead of using paint thinner, the chemical quality of plants, different plants differ in their qualities based on solubility. Solubility is the ability for the active medicinal ingredient of a plant to travel from the plant medium to the liquid medium. So every day when you make tea, you're actually doing a scientific chemical experiment based on solubility. Because what you're doing is you're putting the plant into water and you're turning up the heat. Remember when you all were in high school, you used to have Bunsen burners in your chemistry class, or you used to see those types of things with the Erlenmeyer flask? Well, you're doing the same thing with tea. The Bunsen burner is just your teapot. And your Erlenmeyer flask is just your teapot, basically. The Bunsen burner is your stove and your oven. The tea is the plant material, and the water is the liquid substrate. And what you're doing when you're boiling tea is that you're saying that the good stuff from the plant is going to travel into the water. That's why you're boiling tea. But for the good stuff in the plant to travel into the water, the plant, its active medicinal ingredient must be hydrophilic. Philia meaning love. Hydro meaning water. It must love water, therefore it must be water soluble. If it is not water soluble, it is called hydrophobic. Those things that are hydrophilic tend to be lipophobic. Lipo meaning fat. You've heard of liposuction. Lipo is just Latin for fat, lipid. Okay, you see, when you start understanding Latin, you start understanding all these so-called words that become intimidating to people. They're just speaking Latin, y'all. They're just speaking Latin because the Romans educated most of Western Europe. When the Romans actually invaded Britain, Julius Caesar said that he was so shocked at the people of Britain that they were so illiterate that they were not even fit to be slaves. So all of the intellectual heritage of the Western civilization and Western European languages come from Rome. That's why those languages are called Romance languages. They're Roman languages. They're all offshoots of Latin. That's Spanish. That's French. That's Portuguese. All of those languages basically came from Latin. And there's a whole bunch of English that came from Latin as well. It also has pieces of German in it as well. But once you understand this, then you will not be intimidated by medical nomenclature. So you have a situation where you've got all of these diseases with these names and these doctors hurtling out these names, and you go there and you don't really recognize what's going on. So you're intimidated by it and you just leave it in their hands and you don't do the research yourself because you think it takes a special knowledge to learn these things when it does not. I've just taught you more than you knew about medical nomenclature before you even got here, right? So you've learned more than you knew before you even came to this lecture, right? And it's going to continue because you're going to get the tools to be able to do this stuff yourself. So it turns out that these medications that you're given all have what they refer to as side effects. What are side effects? Well, basically, your body is an organic body, and these medicines are inorganic medicines. So these inorganic medicines are trying to heal an organic body. But the problem is that your body does not fully recognize these inorganic medicines. So your body starts to malfunction, in which they call side effects. These are body malfunctions. So it is important to understand the alternatives would be plant medicine. And what you need to know is, because I'm also a lawyer, the way pharmaceutical companies make money is through patents. Most of these medicines are adulterations of plant molecular structures. The problem is pharmaceutical companies cannot make money off of plants because they cannot patent the plant, because Mother Nature has already made the plant. So what they do is they look at the plant structure and they make some tweaks to the structure, and then they have a pharmaceutical. And then they sell it to you. But the problem is those little small tweaks and additions that they make, those are man-made tweaks. Now you have a chemical compound that the body does not fully recognize because it was not made by nature, it was made by man, and your body starts to malfunction, in which they call side effects. So why not go to the original solution instead of the man-made solution? The original solution is what nature has made for you. And what Mother Nature has made for you, because you are part of Mother Nature. You were made from the earth, you came from the earth, and you go back down into the earth. The earth has your solutions, if you would bother to look, and if the society you lived in bothered to teach you about it. But as you know, this society does not want you to thrive, so you're not going to learn any of this in school. And then, by the way, everything that I'm saying, I say it so that an 8-year-old can understand. And if people can't explain things to you on a level of an 8-year-old understanding it, then they themselves do not understand what they're talking about. Do not be impressed by fancy words. Most people using the fancy words don't even know what they're talking about. And for all complex, seemingly complex problems, there are usually simple but elegant solutions. So when we talk about the plant solution, you do it all the time when you're boiling the tea. And as I was saying, that you need to know the solubility of plants. And so when you study the solubility of plants, you start to find out how you can make your own preparation. So for instance, there are, I would say, 3 or 4 plants that are best plants in terms of medicine and being anti-inflammatory, going to the root cause. So the number 1 plant that I think does the best in terms of inflammation is the leaves of the olive tree. Its active ingredient is called Old European. And I got this information because I started doing experiments with cannabis, starting with understanding plant solubility, understanding that cannabis are actually fat soluble, and the best fat, natural fat, that's the healthiest fat, is literally coconut oil. So I started making cannabis oil with coconut oil because cannabinoids travel from the plant into coconut oil very readily. And as a matter of fact, the only reason why you get high when you smoke cannabis is because you have a blood-brain barrier that is actually covered by lipids, by fats. And so the cannabinoids travel through those fats into your brain, and that's where you get the psychoactive effect. But it turns out that the human body has a system called the endocannabinoid system that was discovered in the 1980s by an Israeli doctor called Raphael Makalim. And this is actually the most proliferative system in the human body, more than the limbic system, more than the respiratory system. It actually is the system that is responsible for homeostasis, which is perfect resting health of an organism. And it has two receptors, the CB1 receptor and CB2 receptor. That's why cannabis oil works in healing people. That's the science behind it. But when I started giving these lectures, it became a problem because I would do lectures in these big places with standing room only, and there'd be lines coming out of the lecture hall where I was giving the lectures, and doctors were attending, different people were attending. This was around 2015, and people would come to me, tell me their mothers on their deathbed, their husbands on their deathbed, all these people on their deathbed from cancer. Could I help them by giving them, you know, the oil that I made? The problem is that cannabis is still federally illegal, so I couldn't ship it without possibly getting a federal indictment or getting some type of problem. Now, what would be interesting for you all to know is that the United States government is completely hypocritical in making cannabis illegal, because cannabis is a Schedule I drug. That is the worst level, or with the highest penalties. It is grouped with heroin, it's grouped with all types of dangerous drugs, and it actually should not be. There are three criteria for a dangerous drug to be Schedule I. One, it must have no accepted medical use in the United States. Number two, it has to have a high potential for abuse. And number three, it cannot be prescribed safely by a medical practitioner. Those are the three criteria, but all three must exist simultaneously. But cannabis does not even qualify for one of them. So let's look at criteria number one. Does not have a accepted medical use in the United States. Well, over 30 states in the United States have medical marijuana laws. So how can you say that it doesn't have any medical use in the United States when over 30 states have medical marijuana laws, including Washington, D.C.? And even crazier, that you might not know, did you know that the United States government has a patent on cannabinoids for medicine? Did you all know that? Oh, okay. This is a great time for you all this is why you can't listen to these people when they talk to you. Take out your phone, and we're going to go on Google. We're going to do this one together. We're going to go on Google together. All right. You all can see my screen? Okay, google.com. All right, we're going to go U.S. patent 6630507. Put that in. U.S. patent 6630507. Put that in on your phone. You are then going to see patents.google.com, cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants. We click on that. Is everyone following me? Yeah. Can you all see this? You should be able to see this on your phone. Yeah. Hold up your phone if you're able to see this on your phone. Just hold it up. Okay. All right, let's read this. What we see is that this is a patent that was filed by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The patent was granted in 2003, October 7, 2003. Do you all see that? Yes, right? Let's look at the title. Cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants. Now we'll just read the quick abstract. The abstract is basically like the Cliff Notes. I might be aging myself there by saying Cliff Notes. I don't even know if that still exists. When we were younger at school, if you wanted to cheat reading a book, you would get a thing called Cliff Notes, and you would just read the short version, right? All right, let's look at what it says. Cannabinoids have been found to have antioxidant properties unrelated to NMDA receptor antagonism. Don't worry about that part. This newfound property makes cannabinoids useful in the treatment and prophylaxis of a wide variety of oxidation-associated diseases, such as ischemic, age-related, inflammatory, and autoimmune diseases. The cannabinoids are found to have particular application as neuroprotectants, for example, in limiting neurological damage following ischemic insults, such as stroke and trauma, or in the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and HIV dementia. Okay? And you can keep on reading, but it's clear that the US government knows right there that cannabinoids have a medicinal effect. Not only that, they have a patent. And what they did is they did a patent on the process of extracting these cannabinoids because they can't get a patent on the plant. But if you tell me, does everyone see that? That's patent 6630507. The US government is a hypocrite because it's saying that a Schedule I drug is something that has no accepted medicinal use in the United States, but the US government has a patent for medicinal reasons. Now, I'm gonna tell you all a quick story. Some years ago, I came back from Jamaica, and when I came back, I got to Miami, and they said allegedly I had cannabis oil in my suitcases. They said I had a whole lot of cannabis oil in my suitcases, allegedly. And they detained me. And what was really interesting was that one of the guys who detained me was a police officer who actually had a melanoma on his skin. I looked at it and I could tell it was melanoma. And he was like, yeah, what you got is really, really strong, man. You know, you're moving with a lot of cannabis there. I said, I'm not saying that that's what it is, but if that's what it is, it probably would get away your melanoma on your arm within probably a week or two. And he was shocked. The police officer said, how did you know that was melanoma? I said, because I've seen it before and I've treated it before. And I'm not saying it's cannabis oil, but if that's what it was, that would be the solution to your problems. And he got quiet. And I then, you know, they arrested the wrong person because one of my specialties in law school was constitutional law. I actually used to be a professor of constitutional law. So I wrote a memorandum of law, which I'll share with anybody. If anyone gets in trouble with cannabis, just let me know and I'll just send you a free memorandum of law email. Where basically I called the scheduling of cannabis as Schedule I to be unconstitutional. And I stated why. That it did not meet any of the three criteria because number one, there's medical use in the United States and there's patent from the United States government. Number two, they say it cannot be prescribed safely by a doctor, but you have medical marijuana laws that you have to get approved by a doctor to get a medical marijuana card in the United States. And Marinol, which is a synthetic form of cannabis, is prescribed by doctors and pharmacies have it. And then number three is that it cannot be, it has a high potential for abuse. And then you look at the safety. And an administrative law judge in the 1980s of the DEA, Judge Francis L. Young, did a hearing on cannabinoids and rescheduling cannabis. And he found that the lethal dosage for cannabis would be that you would have to smoke more than 1,500 pounds of cannabis in 15 minutes. And so I don't know about y'all, and I know some serious Rasta man in my life. I don't know about any Rasta man who can even smoke 1,500 pounds in 15 minutes. They might try, but it ain't gonna happen. So no one's ever died from a marijuana overdose. So when I did this and I submitted to the court, they had to drop my case. The reason why they had to drop my case is that if it went forward, they would have to release everybody because it would become legal precedent. So they just dropped my case. And literally the prosecutor said, when they read my pleading, my memorandum of law, she literally said that it was over her pay grade. So they just dropped it, right? So this is what a little bit of knowledge can do for you when you know what you're talking about. So to avoid those situations and being up in people's courts, I had to find another plant because nature doesn't work like lightning. Nature strikes all over the place, in the same place many times. So if there's one plant, there'll be another plant. Sometimes you have plants that are just specific to certain regions for those people there. But there are many different plants that solve the same issue. But I started doing research for another plant that could do what cannabis oil did because I was able to reverse many people's cancer with the cannabis oil. And we got some great results. Tested my oils at the University of West Indies in Jamaica, and we got some really good results. Now, when I did my research, I found olive leaf extract, the leaves of the olive tree. Not only did I find research that it kills cancer cells between 9 and 12 days, I also found that it lowers blood pressure, that it creates healthy blood pressure, that it creates healthy blood sugar, that it also works against epileptic seizures, autoimmune illnesses, a whole host of illnesses. And the problem that we were having with cancer and cannabinoids and cannabis oil was that a lot of people could not handle the high that they would get from cannabis oil. Because it has THC in it, a lot of people would get high, and a lot of people who've never used marijuana before, it'd be their first time, and it was really rough for them because they would just be really, really high. And it can be expensive because of the price of cannabis. Now, olive leaf extract doesn't have any of those issues. It doesn't have any legal issues. It's very cheap, and it doesn't make people high. And it works better for high blood pressure and diabetes. So I said, this is something to look at. So by then I had learned how to extract the medicine from plants very well. So as any good scientist would do, I made my first olive leaf extract in 2015 as an alternative to cannabis oil because my phone was ringing off the hook for cannabis oil. I would teach people how to make it, but people would literally approach me and ask me for an ounce of cannabis oil and want to pay me $10,000 for an ounce because that's how desperate they were. Now, I would never accept it because I never knew who these people were. I didn't know if they were undercover people. I didn't know who they were. You know what I'm saying? And I lived in St. Thomas at the time, which is a big tourist destination in the Virgin Islands. So people used to call me off the boat, off the cruise ships. Say, hey, are you the guy with the cannabis oil? I need some. My wife is dying. Da-da-da-da. I need it. I'll give you $8,000. I'll give you $10,000. I'll give you $15,000 if you can just give me some of the oil. I've heard about you. And I would have to say no because I don't know who these people are. And that's a terrible way to live. To be looking behind your back and not being able to help people because you think you might be in jeopardy. So I wanted to solve all of that, and olive leaf extract became the solution. So I made my first olive leaf extract, gave it to myself, and it got rid of my eczema that I had behind my ears for over 20 years. Got rid of my eczema. And then a week later, it got rid of my asthma. I had asthma all my life, athletic asthma, where like if I try to exert myself where I hadn't for some time, it'd be like I'm dying because my lungs would get so filled up with inflammation. And that completely went away. And I knew it because I was spending time in an island called Dominica. It's very mountainous, Dominica. And so everywhere you're going, you're walking uphill pretty much. And it was hard for me to walk uphill because of my asthma. When I took the olive leaf extract, I came back to Dominica a few months later and I could run up the hills. And so then the next thing was I gave it to friends of mine who had high blood pressure. And within 24 to 48 hours, their blood pressure was normalized. I'm talking about people with blood pressure as high as 200 over 110. And we have testimonials. So don't believe nothing I'm saying. I'm going to be able to show you all chapter and verse. And then I gave it to friends of mine who had diabetes, blood sugar over 300. Blood sugar went down to 98 within 24 hours. And then I got the call that changed everything. I got a call from a man, his name is Dr. Charles Harrigan. He called me, and I could hear in his phone he was very solemn and kind of weeping, and said, is this the brother who makes the olive leaf extract? I said, yeah. He said, I want to thank you. I said, thank me for what? He said, you saved my life. I said, how did I save your life? He said, well, I had prostate cancer, and a friend of mine recommended your olive leaf extract, and now I'm cancer free. And I took it every day for a month and a half. And they were going to put me on a thing called brachytherapy. And brachytherapy is when they insert seeds of radioactive seeds into the prostate. And they told him that he was so radioactive, he would be so radioactive that he could not, under any circumstance, be next or close to pregnant women, because the radioactivity that would be emanating from his body could harm the fetus. But they saw that as a solution for him. And this is what's happening when people get cancer. They're giving you radiation. They're putting you on chemotherapy. Most people who are dying from cancer are not dying from cancer. They're dying from chemotherapy complications. This is what's happening. We're being treated as guinea pigs because they know something about us that we don't know about ourselves, and they know that whatever they tell us, we'll just do it. Right? Yeah. They told you to go take an experimental shot that is not even classified as a vaccine, that they lied about, telling you that if you take it, you'll never have this and you won't be able to pass it on to anybody. And then months later, they said, oops, we were wrong. But they knew that they were wrong. They knew that they were lying because there were no studies to show that it inferred immunity. But they told you to take it, and you just took it. And now I've got thousands of people calling me from vaccine injuries. We're going to talk about that too, very quickly, on how to deal with that. But they know that we have a smartphone and we won't even do basic research. They told you to go take a shot from Pfizer. How many people bothered to do research on Pfizer before they took the shot from Pfizer? Well, how would you do the research? Well, let's go to Google again. I want everyone to pull out their smartphone. And I want you to go to Google. And I want you to put in these words. Pfizer crimes. Tell me what you all see. Do you all see what I'm seeing? Let's get a better view. All right. Is everyone on their smartphone? Did you put in Pfizer crimes? You can speak up. Yes? Okay, when you scroll down, you'll see Justice Department, but when you scroll down, you'll see tough on crime, Pfizer. Do you all see that one? This is from the National Institute of Health website. Do you all see this one here that says tough on crime, Pfizer and CIHR? Can you speak up? Yeah. Okay, click that. Let's scroll down. We can start from the second sentence. Does everyone see this sentence here? Just say yes if you can. Yeah. All right. Pfizer has been a habitual offender persistently engaging in illegal and corrupt marketing practices, bribing physicians, and suppressing adverse trial results. Since 2002, the company and its subsidiaries have been assessed $3 billion in criminal convictions, civil penalties, and jury awards. But this is the company that was supposed to save the day. It says that they're a habitual offender. That means that they do these things by habit. It's a habit of Pfizer to be an offender. And they engage in corrupt marketing practices like telling you a shot is a vaccine when it's not, because the only thing that can be a vaccine is something that confers immunity. But they changed the definition of vaccine to have that fit as a vaccine. It's actually gene therapy. It's not a vaccine. So that's one, corrupt marketing practices, bribing physicians. They paid a lot of doctors to go on TV and say, take this medicine, take this, take this, take this, because it will stop you from actually getting COVID and passing it on to other people. You remember those days in the news when they had doctors go on saying, take this vaccine? And then suppressing adverse trial results, which means that they hid from the public situations in which people were harmed from the medications. So why in the world would we think that these people were qualified to save the day? But they knew something about us that we don't know about ourselves, that we won't do the research. They know that we'll use our smartphones for entertainment, but not to save our lives. They know that about us. So they can do whatever they want with us. And even during 2020 and 2021, I would point out that study, and that study is from if you look on your phone, it is from the National Institute of Health website. They did not even fear you enough to take that off the website. That's how much they don't even respect you. They don't respect you enough to try to hide it. They left it in plain view. That they know you're not going to look it up. They're going to say, hey, all the sheep, you ever seen how sheep get slaughtered?
Yes. Yes.
And you see how they have one sheep that becomes the sacrificial sheep that leads all the other sheep into a slaughterhouse. Because they know something about sheep the sheep don't know about themselves. They know that as long as they get a white man with gray hair in a suit to come on TV and call himself Dr. So-and-so, you're going to listen to everything he says without even researching it yourself. They know that about you. That's why you got black people having bumper stickers, I trust Fauci. You all saw it. Don't know a damn thing about Fauci, but you just trust him. You don't even know that he's the one who made the AIDS epidemic worse by taking AZT off the shelf. AZT was banned before Fauci actually made it legal again because it was killing so many people. They were using it as a chemotherapy. It was killing so many people. But Fauci decided that, hey, let's use it for AIDS, and it killed so many people. It probably killed more people than AIDS itself. And he kept the same job for 50 years and got the nerve to come on TV talking about he's an expert when he is actually the most failed person in public life, probably second to Christopher Columbus. Because nobody got lost more than Christopher Columbus, and nobody crashed more boats than Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus never saw a boat that he couldn't crash. If you study his history, and Fauci never saw a pandemic that he couldn't make worse. But you got black folks, because they're part of the Democratic Party and they hate Trump, that anything Fauci says, we support Fauci. And that's where it boiled down to. I've never seen so many people who used to be suspicious of the government trust everything the government says just because a new party became, in the White House. They hated Trump so bad that anything anti-Trump, they loved. Trump could say water is wet, and they would say Trump's wrong. And I'm not a fan of Trump, by the way, but I saw how the politics went down, and I saw how many people who got suckered by this thing, and people are suffering now. And most of these people who are suffering from these shots did it because of political affiliations. And this is just the truth. But they never bothered to give you anything about Pfizer's history of lying, bribing doctors, or any of that. And they knew that you wouldn't search it on your phone, even though you got a smartphone. So how smart are we? Now, why am I talking about all this? Because this is not about high blood pressure. This is about health. High blood pressure issues is just one branch of the problem. I'm talking about the root problem. The root problem is you're listening to people who should not be listened to. You're listening to people who don't have the results. The only thing good they can do for you is treat you in a traumatic situation. If you get hit by a car, if you get a gunshot wound, yes, go to the hospital. They're very good at trauma care because it's wartime medicine. But in terms of chronic diseases, no. They don't have the answers. And you know they don't have the answers because of the food they give you when you're admitted to the hospital. You can get admitted for coronary bypass surgery in the morning, they're giving you bacon. You get admitted for diabetic, you get diabetic complications, diabetic coma in the morning, they're giving you Jell-O. You're in there for cancer, and for dinner, they're giving you cheesecake, when it's known that sugar feeds cancer. This is what's going on. So let's look at high blood pressure real quick. Now that you all understand what's going on, there's a study that you need to be made aware of. And I'm going to share it right here. This is a study from the American Heart Association, and your doctor probably does not know about this study. You can put it here in your Google search. It's called Renal Considerations in Angiotensin Converting Enzyme Inhibitor Therapy. I know it's a lot, it's a mouthful, but the acronym is ACE inhibitors, ACE inhibitors. What are ACE inhibitors? Well, ACE inhibitors are a class of medication. They all end with the word pril or ill. Are you all following me? So let's look at what they say in this study. I'm going to make it big so you all can see it. Can you all see the study? Just say yes. Okay. So this is a study from 2001, y'all. October 2001. So this has been known for at least 22 years. So let's read it. Is it big enough, or do I need to make it bigger? Is it good? All right, let me make it one step bigger. All right, how's that? All right. Angiotensin converting enzyme, ACE inhibitors, are now one of the most frequently used classes of antihypertensive drugs. Beyond their utility in the, before I go any further, just please note that this is research from the American Heart Association, okay? This is not Heru, this is from the American Heart Association. So this is not me saying it, this is their documentation. All right. Beyond their utility in the management of hypertension, their use has been extended to the long-term management of patients with congestive heart failure, CHF, as well as diabetic and non-diabetic nephropathies. Nephro just means kidney in Latin. Remember Latin? It's kidney, nephro. Nephrologist is your kidney doctor. Pathy means something is wrong. Pathologist, pathological, okay? So something wrong with your kidneys. That's just how you break down the world, okay? So they're just telling you what they're used for. So they're used for high blood pressure, and they're also used for diabetes at times. But here's the problem. When you scroll down, ARF, acute renal failure, due to ACE inhibitor therapy. Let's go to the second paragraph, what they say. Renal function, let me get rid of this. Renal function can deteriorate. Let me just put it up some so you all can see it. Okay. Renal function can deteriorate acutely when ACE inhibitor therapy is initiated, or in patients receiving chronic ACE inhibitor therapy, particularly in patients with CHF, congestive heart failure. ARF, which is acute renal failure, can occur, listen very carefully, ARF, acute renal failure, can occur even if ACE inhibitor therapy has been uneventful for months or years. To date, little has been written about this latter problem. Let me break that down for you. They're saying that if you're taking this high blood pressure medication, you could be taking it for a couple of years with no problems. But then all of a sudden, your kidneys can die. It can occur even if ACE inhibitor therapy has been uneventful for months or years. This is why, and so what's an ACE inhibitor? An ACE inhibitors, let me give you a list of them. The most popular one is called lisinopril, which some people in the room right now are taking. And the way you just do it is you just go on Google and just put in ACE inhibitors. Right? List of ACE inhibitors. And you will just be able to see them. And this is the way you do it. So once you see a study like that, you want to know, oh, what are these medications that are ACE inhibitors? And am I taking one of them? Well, the way that you know is an ACE inhibitor is very quickly, it always ends with a pril or ill, I-L or P-R-I-L. So if it's P-R-I-L or I-L, that's what it is. So let's look at some of these ACE inhibitors. I'll just share the screen with you. And it's very easy. You can just put in list of ACE inhibitors in Google and it'll come up. You can even go to Wikipedia. It'll have it. So right now I'm just at a simple Wikipedia page for ACE inhibitors. It's giving you the ACE inhibitors and it's giving you a list of ACE inhibitors. So here's your list right here. Elacepril, captopril, zofenopril, enalapril, ramipril, quinapril, perindopril, lisinopril, benazepril, imidapril, trandolapril, sildenafil. You see these? And it just goes on and on. Fosinopril. So any of these will cause kidney failure. And those of you who are aware of your surroundings know that in all Black neighborhoods, you start seeing dialysis clinics popping up. Because they know how many people are taking ACE inhibitors. And they know what it says on the lisinopril box. So let's see how we look at lisinopril and what it does to people. Well, this is what you're going to do, and this is very important. Any medication that you have, you're going to pull out your smartphone. You're going to put in the name of the medication, And you're going to put 2 words after it, side effects. So we're going to do an exercise. Do it with your smartphone, and you're going to pull out your smartphone, and we're going to go to Google again. Let's go to Google again. Oops, that's not the screen. Let's go to Google so we can do it together. Google.com. Do you all see Google? Just say yes loudly. Okay. We're going to put in lisinopril side effects. Okay? So when you see the side effects, you see all these things come up, right? And you can see drugs.com. See where it says drugs.com? Just scroll down, you see drugs.com, lisinopril side effects. Click that, and it'll tell you the side effects of lisinopril. Let's look at them. Commonly reported side effects: dizziness, hypotension, that means low blood sugar. And then it just goes all through these things, but this is what's important. Increased serum creatinine. Many of you don't know what that means. Well, serum creatinine is how you measure whether your kidneys are working or not. It has an inverse relationship to kidney health. The higher your creatinine levels are, the worse your kidneys are. So it's already telling you that the common reported side effects of this is your kidneys getting worse. And let's just scroll down. It has here, which is very important, renal, common, 1 to 10%. Creatinine increased by 10%. I mean, 10% of the people who took it, it increased. What does that mean? That means that they are able to literally, so look at one of these side effects, chest pain. And it goes down, up and down. We're going to go through more of these problems. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. You can even get pancreatitis, constipation, dry mouth. All of these things are just listed. Rashes, bone marrow depression. You can get memory impairment, lack of sleep, somnolence, irritability, hallucinations. My father used to get nightmares when he used to take blood pressure medication. He used to tell me about it. He couldn't sleep well because he would get nightmares, psychotic nightmares at night when he would try to go to sleep. But this is what you have to pay attention to right here. This, creatinine increased, 10%. That means, y'all, that they can literally map out all of the prescriptions that they give of lisinopril and ACE inhibitors. And let's just say they gave 1 million. They know that 10% of 1 million is 100,000. That means that they know that 100,000 people are going to eventually go on dialysis. That's the math. So now you've got kidney failure and you've got high blood pressure. And as a matter of fact, if you go to a dialysis clinic, 9 out of 10 people there have high blood pressure and are on high blood pressure medication. But the doctors have never made a link between the medication and kidney failure, even though the studies exist, what I just showed you. This is real. But what is the solution? I can show you the solution. On herbalresults.net, I put together the studies from U.S. National Institute of Health. I'm going to share it with you, so you'll be able to see the studies, and you're going to be appalled when you see this. So on herbalresults.net, this is the website. You see it here. And you go to the science page. Anyone can go there on their phone right now, herbalresults.net. And there's a science page, and then there's a science page for olive leaf extract. And we have 9 studies that show that olive leaf extract reverses high blood pressure. Look at this study here. This is from the U.S. National Institute of Health website. And it says quite clearly about, let me just let it load. I don't know why it's taking so long to load. Yeah, I don't know why that's taking long to load. Let me try to put it on, because it's important that you all see this study. Let me try to put it on another browser. Okay, it's up on another browser. Let me share that screen. Okay, you all can see this? Where it says olive olea europea, you see National Library of Medicine, just say yes loudly. No or yes? Yes, okay. Let me make it a little bigger so you can read it. All right. It says, olive leaf extract effective in patients with stage 1 hypertension in comparison with captopril. Remember, captopril is one of those ACE inhibitors that ends with a pril, just like lisinopril. And this is a study that came out in 2011. So they've known this for over a decade. And this is a double-blind randomized study. And so what they did was they just took a group of people, gave them one half of the people for 8 weeks, the pharmaceutical, and then the other half they gave olive leaf extract. And so let's look at their findings. A significant reduction of triglyceride level, that's your cholesterol level, was observed in the olive group, but not in the captopril group. In conclusion, olive leaf extract at the dosage regimen of 500 milligrams twice daily was similarly effective in lowering systolic, which is the top number, and diastolic, which is the bottom number, blood pressures in subjects with stage 1 hypertension as captopril, given it at its effective dosage of 12.5 to 25 milligrams twice daily. So what they're telling you here is this works just as well as the pharmaceutical. Olive leaf extract works just as well as the pharmaceutical in lowering blood pressure, but it does one extra thing. It actually lowers cholesterol too. So now the question becomes this, and I'm going to take it off the screen. You have choice A. Choice A, you can lower your blood pressure and get kidney failure. Or choice B, you can lower your blood pressure, not get kidney failure, and also lower your cholesterol. Which choice would most people choose? B. Why are you only given the option of A? This is from the National Library of Medicine's website. Shouldn't your doctor know about this? Shouldn't your doctor give you that option? Shouldn't you get the option of taking something that will lower your blood pressure and lower your cholesterol and also not give you kidney failure? Shouldn't you be given that right to have that option? This is the situation that we're in. Is that people are not given options to solve their problems in a way that is meaningful, but people are dependent on a system that only gives you Band-Aid solutions to keep you coming back. Because they know once you're in their system, one disease is going to lead to another disease because of the side effects. So you become a hamster in their wheel. And what this is all about is to get off their wheel because their solution is inferior. Their solution to chronic disease is completely inferior. It leaves you with other problems. We are positing a solution that does not leave you with other problems. That study alone should make you angry. What I told you about Vitex and Chaseberry and gynecological problems should make you angry. Take these same studies to your doctor and see the look on your doctor's face. Most of them do not know because they only get about 2 hours of nutrition in medical school. They only know about pharmaceuticals because the pharmaceutical companies, and this is a whole nother lecture, are the ones who fund the medical schools. So this is the situation that we're in. You're on your own. And if you don't take it upon yourself to solve your problems in this day and age with the smartphone that you got in your pocket, but not using it correctly because they know you're not going to. They don't even scrub their information from their websites. They literally could have on their website, taking this medication will kill you in 30 days. But as long as it's on the news saying take the medication, they know that you're going to take the medication. And the reason why I know this is because listen, Pfizer didn't even have it in them. They didn't even respect you enough to change the name of their company, to call it something else because they've got such a bad history. They still are bold calling themselves Pfizer, sponsoring the Super Bowl, sponsoring CNN shows. You'll see it sponsored by Pfizer because they know that you're not going to do the research on them. And I'm just trying to say that the people in this room now, we no longer have an excuse. I've shown you what to do. Every single medication that you have, you type it in and put in the word side effects, and you'll be shocked and surprised to see what you're going to see. And you'll be finding out that many of the problems that you got health-wise are due to the medications you're taking. Do you know how many men call me? They're on high blood. They tell me that they got libido issues. They no longer can get erections. And the first question I ask them is, what medication are you on? They'll tell me. And then I will say, take out your smartphone while we're on the phone. I know you're on the phone. So what you're going to do is put me on speaker, and we are going to do a Google search on this medication together. And we find out that one of the side effects for a lot of these blood pressure medications is erectile dysfunction, which sometimes they call decreased libido. We find out that kidney failure is one of these problems. And they tell you once you have kidney failure, your kidneys can never go back. And that is a lie. I've got customers and clients who we get them off of the high blood pressure medication because we know that that is the causative agent causing kidney failure. We replace it with the olive leaf extract. The olive leaf extract works for them to control their blood pressure. In 3 days, they're able to urinate. I don't think that you all know what happens to people when they have kidney failure. I'm not sure if you all knew this, but when people on dialysis, did you know that they can't urinate? When the kidneys don't work, people can't urinate, y'all. So what has to happen is that they have to get on a machine called a dialysis machine to clean the impurities from their blood, which your kidneys normally would pass it out through your urine. So people who are on dialysis have not been able to urinate for years. And a lot of people are in this situation, they just don't tell you about it. And they're suffering in silence. They don't tell you. So you don't know that they can't urinate. So can you imagine not urinating for 5 years? 3 to 5 years, you just haven't urinated once. So we give people the olive leaf extract, their blood pressure is controlled, and within 3 days, they're able to urinate, and they're calling me crying, I can urinate now, because now they feel like themselves again, because they can urinate, just to be able to urinate. I mean, we take a lot of things for granted when we're healthy, y'all. This is real. I mean, I have stories I could tell. I have stories I could tell. And I see people suffering because people are not getting, I mean, what I'm telling you should be basic knowledge, but it's not. That tells you that you're living in a wicked society. If you're hearing this for the first time, it is confirmation that you live in a society that does not give you information to help yourself. This should be on the news every day. If this society cared about you. These studies, your doctor should be able to tell you, well, you could take this medication, it might cause you kidney failure, but you could take this medication, it's just going to lower your cholesterol too. But this is not the conversation that we're getting as a people, as a general population. There are more studies and more studies. I could give you all types of studies, but we're just going to, I just want to show you all how to navigate the website so you can do follow-up studies on your own and you can double check it. It's all on National Institute of Health website. When you go to our website, herbalresults.net, it's free. You can go on there. You can get the products, but what I'm more interested in is people being empowered. So if you look, we talk about the different diseases that olive leaf extract deals with. So high blood pressure, and we put all of the studies, you see they're all National Institute of Health studies. They're on there for you. So you can double check everything we're saying. Because I don't want you to believe anything I'm saying. I want you to confirm it. Then we have a section for olive leaf and diabetes. We have all these studies to show how olive leaf reverses diabetes. Olive leaf and viruses, bacteria, and fungal infections. Number 2, under this heading, it shows you how it actually kills HIV. And as a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, I got a call from a customer of mine who referred the olive leaf to a lady who lives overseas who was diagnosed with HIV. And she took the olive leaf, and a month later I heard back, and now she tests negative. I'm not making any of this up, y'all. And the study is here. You see it. Anti-HIV activity of olive leaf extract. It's all there. Why didn't you know about this? Why weren't you told about this? And this is on the government website. Just like they own a patent to cannabinoids, but tell you that you should be arrested for it because it has no medical purpose. It works for malaria. It works against herpes. It works for all different types of viruses, bacterial infections. It worked very well against COVID. Many of my customers took it for COVID, and it kept them out the hospital and got them recovery in days. Scroll down. Olive leaf cancer tumors. This study here says very clearly, when administered orally to mice that develop spontaneous tumors, old European completely regressed tumors in 9 to 12 days. So this is a mice study, and you have to pass a mice study before you can use it on human beings. And it killed those tumors in 9 to 12 days. Why is not olive leaf extract something that is used routinely when people get cancer in the hospitals? Olive leaf and pain. It works very well against pain. It works against Parkinson's. It works against autoimmune illnesses like lupus. It works very good because it's a very strong anti-inflammatory. And the studies go on and on and on. But this is the way for you to be able to go to the website and just do your own research. Just go on the site, herbalresults.net, go to the science page, and spend an hour on there. It will change your life. It will change the life of people in your family. So there's so much more that we could talk about. I'm going to show you all on our page testimonials, video testimonials, because this was just a primer. It is now up to you to do your due diligence. See if what I'm saying is correct. Some of you will be able to track what I'm saying in real time by actually looking what I'm talking about on your phone, so you're able to confirm what I'm saying. But if you look at this right here, I don't know. Let me make sure that you all are able to see this page here. I'm going to share this with you all. All right. So we were able to put together video testimonials, not written testimonials, because you never know who the people. We want to attach a face and a voice to people. This right here is an anesthesiologist. He reversed his high blood pressure with olive leaf extract. This is, and maybe we can listen to a little bit of it. This is Dr. Harrigan. So this is a doctor of medicine who won't use the medications because he knows they cause kidney failure. He uses it for his high blood pressure. This is a doctor of education. He talks about how his prostate cancer was reversed. This is the man who called me. This is a 72-year-old woman who had epileptic seizures every day. They put her in the hospital. Then she took the olive leaf extract and it reversed her epileptic seizures where the medication didn't work. This is a woman who had Velma Samuels right here, who had a breast tumor the size of a quarter, like a 25-cent coin. She took it, the olive leaf extract, the tumor went away. She went back to the hospital. They couldn't believe the tumor went away. They were trying to do a big biopsy. It was completely gone. They couldn't believe it. And she tells about the story. This is a 52-year-old man, 54-year-old Howard Dorsey. He's a veteran. It reverses high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, back pain, and COVID. And we just have more testimonials. It just goes all the way down. But what I want to do is just let me share this with you all, and then we can get into some questions. I mean, I could go at length about so many other things, but I don't want to take so long. I just wanted to let you all know that there's a solution to your high blood pressure. I'll probably do another one for free on cancer, and we can just talk about cancer. But I had to lay down the groundwork for you all to understand the type of system that you're living in and why they are not telling you the solutions to your problems. So,
Brother Heru,
yes.
do you mind if we took a 10-minute break and allowed you to some people that need to leave out?
Yeah, you want to take a break? Yeah, we can take a break.
10-minute break and then we'll come right back and then there'll be
We can take a break and then we just listen to testimonial. I'm sorry, we can take a break, listen to testimonial, and then we can have question and answer.
Okay, so we'll come back with the testimonials and the questions. Thank you very much, Brother Heru.
Yeah, no problem.
Be about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You want to make the right call? One of those burgers or one of those tacos, they're closing out that right now, so you want to go out. I got enough to say. There's still, at the table, processing things, we have hold on in 10 minutes. We're gonna get started in just a minute.
I'm ready when you're ready, Baruch.
We're getting back together. Give us maybe another 10 minutes. I still got people on the line.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, we're about to get started on my team, so maybe we can rock and roll. We can go ahead and crank back up, Brother Heru.
Okay. All right. Are you ready, Baruch?
Yes, sir, Brother Heru.
All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. We're going to just get into a few things. I don't want to hold you all up much longer, but I'm going to show you a quote from a renowned heart surgeon who decided to be honest. Can everybody hear me? Yes, okay. So I'm going to share the screen with you. Was everything that I said understandable? Was it easy to understand?
Yeah.
It's very easy, right?
Great job.
Yeah. Yeah, this stuff does not have to be complicated. Let me show you all. So when you do the search, the Google search for the medication that you might be taking and side effects, one of the better websites to go on to, because they actually list the side effects in a very organized manner, is the Mayo Clinic or the Mayo Clinic. I'm going to share with you a few things. I want you to see the, okay, yes. So when you go to Mayo Clinic and we go to lisinopril, you will see all of these different conditions and side effects. You all can see the screen? Just say yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's some of the more common effects of lisinopril. Blurred vision, cloudy urine, confusion, decrease in urine, which is showing that your kidneys aren't working well, dizziness, faintness, lightheadedness, sweating, unusual tiredness or weakness. And a lot of people who are on high blood pressure medication can attest to that they get very tired and very weak. And then you have abdominal pain, stomach pain, body aches, chest pain, chills, common cold, cough, diarrhea, difficulty breathing, ear congestion, fever, headache, loss of voice, nasal congestion, nausea, runny nose, sneezing, sore throat, vomiting. There's more. And the list keeps going on. Even though they say it's rare, this happens. Arm, back, jaw pain, chest discomfort, fast or irregular heartbeat, joint pain, feeling of discomfort or illness, loss of appetite, muscle ache, shivering, trouble sleeping. They say less common, but this happens. Decreased interest in sexual intercourse, inability to have or keep an erection, loss of sexual strength, loss of sexual ability, desire, drive, or performance, rash. And then these things they say is rare, which includes like stomach problems, indigestion, muscle cramps, swelling. These are the side effects that go along with this. Now, there's another one that a lot of people take called amlodipine. Does everyone see this where it says amlodipine? Just say yes loudly.
Yes.
Okay. Look at its side effects. Swelling of the ankles or feet. That means that your kidneys aren't working well. So the fluid, the uric acid is supposed to get out through your urine, is actually depositing in your feet, in your ankles, sometimes your knees. So when this is a very common side effect, that means your kidneys are not working the way that they should. So they're giving you a hint right there. Less common, chest tightness, difficulty labored breathing, dizziness, fast or regular pounding or racing heartbeat, feeling of warmth, redness of the face. Rare, black tarry stools, bleeding gums, blistering, peeling, loosening of the skin, blood in the urine, blurred vision. It keeps going on. Confusion, cold sweats, dark and yellow urine, diarrhea, dilated neck veins, extra heartbeats, fainting, fever, joint muscle pain. All of this stuff is on there. These are the side of, look at how long it goes. I don't have time to read them all, but this is what you are getting when you take their inferior medications. And I call it inferior because it cannot be superior if it's causing all of these problems. Do you all follow me? All right. Now, this is from a doctor who's a world-renowned heart surgeon. When he talks about the cause of high blood pressure and heart disease, this is the title. You all can look this up. His name is Dr. Dwight Lundell. You could just Google Dwight Lundell and heart disease. The title is World-Renowned Heart Surgeon, Dr. Dwight Lundell speaks out on what really causes heart disease. That's him right there. He decided to tell the truth. Okay, let me just read it. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Dr. Dwight Lundell, we physicians with all our training, knowledge, and authority often require a large ego. We often acquire a large ego that tends to make it difficult to admit we are wrong. And I have dealt with a lot of doctors who really did not want to admit that they were wrong, even when I showed them chapter and verse. All right, he says, so here it is. I freely admit to being wrong. As a heart surgeon with 25 years experience, having performed over 5,000 open heart surgeries, today is my day to right the wrong with medical and scientific facts. Listen carefully. I trained for many years with other prominent physicians labeled opinion makers. You know, those guys who are on TV always telling you to take this medication, do this, and this is what, you know, these are the opinion makers. They're bombarded with scientific literature, continually attending educational seminars. We opinion makers insisted heart disease resulted from the simple fact of elevated blood cholesterol. Now listen to this. The only accepted therapy was prescribing medications to lower cholesterol and a diet that severely restricted fat intake. And the reason why he's talking about this is because they found out there are two types of cholesterol. There's a bad cholesterol and a good cholesterol. And they never made a difference between the two. So when they would measure people's cholesterol, they would measure the good cholesterol and make people think that that was bad. Okay? So the latter of the course, we insisted with lower cholesterol by restricting fat intake, right? Which was not the answer. It was actually restricting sugar intake as the answer. Because fat, your body can live off of fast. The problem is the sugars. And listen to what he's saying. Let me start the paragraph over. The only accepted therapy was prescribing medications to lower cholesterol and a diet that was severely restricted fat intake. The latter, of course, we insisted with lower cholesterol and heart disease. Deviations from these recommendations were considered heresy and could quite possibly result in malpractice. It is not working. These recommendations are no longer scientifically or morally defensible. The discovery a few years ago that inflammation in the artery wall, pay attention, y'all, inflammation in the artery wall is the real cause of heart disease, is slowly leading to a paradigm shift in how heart disease and other chronic ailments will be treated. The long-established dietary recommendations have created epidemics of obesity and diabetes, the consequence of which dwarf any historical plague, including COVID, in terms of mortality, human suffering, and dire economic consequences. So basically, their dietary recommendations that they've been telling you all for years, he's saying have been a lie, and they've actually have created the problems of obesity and diabetes. Despite the fact that 25% of the population takes expensive statin medications, and despite that's the lower cholesterol medications, despite the fact we have reduced the fat content of our diets, more Americans will die this year of heart disease than ever before. Statistics from the American Heart Association show that 75 million Americans currently suffer from heart disease, 20 million have diabetes, 57 million have prediabetes. These are all the people that have what you call metabolic syndrome. These disorders are affecting younger and younger people in greater numbers every year. Simply stated, without inflammation being present in the body, this is key. Without inflammation being present in the body, there is no way that cholesterol would accumulate in the wall of the blood vessel and cause the heart disease and strokes. So the cholesterol is just a byproduct of inflammation. Remember I said getting to the root of the problem? Without inflammation, cholesterol would move freely throughout the body as nature intended. It is inflammation that causes cholesterol to become trapped. Now, this is the last part here. Inflammation is not complicated. It is quite simply your body's natural defense to a foreign invader such as a bacteria, toxin, or virus. The cycle of inflammation is perfect in how it protects your body from these bacterial and viral invaders. However, if we chronically expose the body to injury by toxins or foods the human body was never designed to process, remember, processed foods, a condition occurs called chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is just as harmful as acute inflammation is beneficial. Okay? So what thoughtful person would willfully expose himself repeatedly to foods or substances that are known to cause injury to the body? Okay? So he just goes on and on. He's saying the rest of us have simply followed the recommended mainstream diet that is low in fat and high in polyunsaturated fats and carbohydrates, not knowing we were causing repeated injury to our blood vessels. This repeated injury creates chronic inflammation leading to heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and obesity. Let me repeat that. The injury and inflammation in our blood vessels is caused by the low-fat diet recommended by years by mainstream medicine. What are the biggest culprits of chronic inflammation? Quite simply, they are the overload, and this is important because I'm going to get into this. What are the biggest culprits of chronic inflammation? They are the overload of highly simple, highly processed carbohydrates, sugar, flour, and all the products made from them, and the excess consumption of omega-6 vegetable oils like soybean oil, corn, and sunflower that are found in many processed foods. I'm going to stop there. So what we have done is on our website, we have told you and shown you the foods to stay away from. So if you go on herbalresults.net, you just go to instructions, and I'm going to go to that for you all. And I'm going to share that page with you. And it is just instruction number 4, very clearly. And right here, these are your dietary restrictions. A gluten-free, anti-inflammatory, a vegan diet is good for at least 1 month to try it out. No sugar, no dairy, no wheat, only gluten-free flour, no rice, because in rice we find arsenic, especially the white rice. No seafood for at least a month because it has mercury in it, and no pipe water because it has lead in it. No table salt. If you want to have salt, you get sea salt. But remember, salt is not a spice. So do not go crazy with the sea salt. You actually don't really need it because most of the foods that you're eating already got salt in it. No seasonings with MSG. That's monosodium glutamate. You know that seasoning called Accent? Do you all know about Accent seasoning? Have you heard of that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. That's all monosodium glutamate. Monosodium glutamate is a vasoconstrictor. It literally constricts the veins. So think about a hose, a water hose that's pumping water. If you squeeze the hose, the water stops going to the other side. Your heart is the same way, the hose being your arteries. Blood delivers oxygen to your organs. So what happens is that when the arteries are squeezed and constricted, you only have 2 options. Either you're going to pump more blood harder so it reaches the other side of the constriction, or you let go, just like a water hose. So what's happening with you all is that your arteries are being constricted by inflammation, and your heart has to pump at a higher pressure to get the blood from one side of the constriction to the next, just like a hose. Because your body wants you to live. It's fighting for you to live, but it has to pump at a higher pressure. Therefore, you have high blood pressure. Y'all get it? Was that easy to understand? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. No one ever explained it to you like that, I'm sure. But if your arteries are delivering your blood from your heart to your organs, if you have inflammation, which is causing constriction of that hose, which is your arteries, you only have 2 choices. You're either going to release the constriction or you're going to pump the blood at a higher pressure to get the blood to the other side. So the best thing for you to do is to release the constriction in the hose, not to have the heart pump harder, because you're making the heart work too hard. That's why you have high blood pressure. Your heart's just working too hard to keep you alive. So these are things that constrict your veins. monosodium glutamate, soda drinks, all that sugar causes constriction. Now, the other big culprit is your cooking oils. Now I'm gonna go stop and I'm gonna go full screen to look at y'all. Cooking oils is some of the biggest causes of inflammation in the body. I'd like to ask you all a question. What is the vegetable that is named canola? You all probably got canola oil at your house. What vegetable is named canola? None. Why are you cooking with canola oil and you don't even know what it is? That's a real question. There's no vegetable. I mean, at least you can see corn oil, you know what corn is. Sunflower, you at least know what sunflower is. But many of you all will go home right now in your house, in the house of your parents, your brothers, your sisters, is a big bottle of canola oil. And you never bothered to pull out your smartphone and say, what the hell is a canola? This is what I'm saying is that they know stuff about us that we don't know about ourselves. That if you just put it in a store and you see other people buying it, remember that sheep they call the Judas sheep or the Judas goat? That is the first sheep or the goat that goes to the slaughter where all the other sheep follow them. So now you see in the grocery store canola oil, and you just go ahead and get it. But it never struck you to actually find out what the hell a canola is. So I'm gonna leave that for you for homework to find out what a canola is. Why is it called canola oil? Use your smartphone to figure that out. That's a question you can ask in Google. What is canola oil? And what you're gonna find out is that these are seed oils. The seed oils are so highly concentrated that they're causing inflammation in the body because it takes so much of these seeds to make an oil that they have to go through unnatural refining processes. And these are killing people with inflammation. The only oil you should cook with is unrefined coconut oil. People would ask me, what about olive oil? Well, most of the olive oil you're getting is adulterated. It's not pure olive oil, even though they say it is. It's olive oil that's mixed with canola oil. So, and it's the same color, yellowish. So they mix it together. In the street, they call it stepped on product. They're selling you stepped on olive oil. But they can't do that with coconut oil because coconut oil is clear. So they can't mix that other type of oil in. So I would advise you to get unrefined. If it's refined, it's the wrong one. You don't want to eat any food that's refined. That means it's been processed. It has to be unrefined. Coconut oil is the only oil you should cook with. Just knowing that will help you save your life. The brand I recommend is Nutiva. You're going to stay away from sugar. You're going to stay away from white rice. White rice becomes sugar in your body in 10 minutes. And then the inflammation kicks in. And then your problems kick in. So what inflammation is doing is it is finding opportunistic places in your body, depending on your genetic profile, to lodge itself. So, for instance, my father's side of our family, most of the men end up dying from diabetes. I'd say about 80% of the men on my father's side die from diabetes complications. Because in my side, we have a pancreas that are very opportunistic to inflammation. So me, I was pre-diabetic in my 20s. They wanted to put me on insulin, but I stopped eating sugar, and now I don't have pre-diabetes. It was just that simple. Instead of telling me to stop eating sugar, they just told me to go get some insulin. You see what they do in the medical system? When actually the problem is that you've lost insulin sensitivity. You are actually in a state where you have insulin resistance. And the insulin resistance causes you to have your body to try to make more insulin, which puts your body in an inflammatory state, which causes more and more problems. So the way that they treat diabetes is literally ass backwards. What you're doing is that you are having an allergic reaction to sugar and sugar forming foods. The carbohydrates is what's killing you. The cakes, the donuts, the rice, the spaghetti, all of those things are converting to sugar within 10, 15 minutes of you eating it. And it is causing a spike in your blood sugar, and therefore your insulin puts your body in an inflammatory state for about 15 hours. And that's what's happening to you. And you have high blood pressure, and no one knows why. And the solution is changing what you put in your mouth and taking herbs. So for instance, if there's a fire, you don't want to put things in your mouth that is going to be gasoline to the fire. That is what sugar is to the fire that's happening in your body, which is inflammation. Anytime you eat sugary foods, or you have foods such as table salt, which is toxic, table salt and sea salt are two different things. Table salt usually is industrial waste from cement factories. A lot of people don't know that because it's from the table of the earth. So when they're digging these rock quarries, they're taking it from the tables of the earth. And it's a byproduct of the industrial waste that they're using to sell to you as table salt. You thought it was because it's on the table, but sea salt, you can put sea salt on a table too. Why didn't they name that table salt? Because it actually comes from the table of the earth. So you want sea salt if you're going to use any type of salt. But you want to actually cut that down because remember, salt is not a spice. Can y'all repeat that after me? Salt is not a spice. Right. Salt was originally used as a preservative for meat when we didn't have refrigerators. So now that we have refrigerators, there's no need for us to really use salt, but people have gotten used to the taste of salt in their food. And it is just raising your blood pressure. As a matter of fact, you can even get water. How many of you all have had Dasani water? Just raise your hands. Have you heard of Dasani water? It's blue. Coca-Cola makes it. I see a few people raise their hands. Have you ever looked at the ingredients? If you ever have a bottle next time, look at the ingredients of Dasani water. One of the ingredients will be salt. You thought you were just buying water? No, it's water and salt. And the reason why they put it in there is that salt makes you thirstier, so you'll buy more of their water. This is what's happening. I mean, you know, usually when I'm there doing a lecture, I might have a bottle of it there just to show people I'm not making it up. Dasani water has salt in it. And that's actually the only water they sell at most airports because they have contracts with Coca-Cola. And it's killing us. And salt, actually, what does salt do? Does anyone know? Oh, you all are up north. When it snows and it's icy outside, what do they do first before they pave? What do they do when they pave the roads? They put salt on the ground, right? To do what? Evaporate the water, right? So salt actually evaporates water. Okay. Now, let me ask you all a question. What's the difference between a raisin and a grape? Yeah, dehydrated. What does dehydrated? Let's break down the word dehydrated mean. Yes. The difference between a grape and a raisin is water. A raisin looks like what? A wrinkled up grape. What do old people look like? Wrinkled up people. You're not old, you're just dehydrated. The reason why you're looking so old is because you're dehydrated. You've got so much salt in your system from all the foods that you eat. Over the years, your body is literally dehydrated, and so you are wrinkled up like a raisin. Because you're not even drinking enough water. And when you drink water, they're polluting your water with salt. That's why everybody in this room has to be like a label Nazi. Anything you eat that's in a package, you better be reading the label. And if it has scientific sounding names, it's processed foods, you better just stay away from it. You get a water bottle, you better read what's in that water bottle. Because you might be drinking salt and not even know it. You get a bottle of oil and it says canola oil, you better find out what the hell a canola is. They tell you to take a shot by Pfizer, you better find out Pfizer's history. This is what the stakes are. The stakes are high. Because everyone in this room is fortunate enough not to be confined to a hospital because you can't move, because you're so sick. The fact that you're there in this room right now means that you're healthy enough to walk around, which means that whatever problems you're dealing with can be reversed if you stop feeding the fires of inflammation. So the key to health is to stop feeding the fires of inflammation with inflammatory foods and to take inflammatory herbs that put out the fires of inflammation. So you're doing two things at the same time. You're no longer feeding the fire and you're putting out the fire with water and herbs that are anti-inflammatory. That is the key to health. Now I'm going to share one last thing with y'all and we can get into questions. And this is the bonus part. I always say this for the people who stayed towards the end. This is the cheat code to health. So not only are we talking about olive leaf extract, but we're also talking about your eating habits. And I'm going to show you the fast road to health. They did a study some years ago, and they found out that the lowest incidences of cancer in the world were actually in the Middle East. And they couldn't find out why. Because they didn't have a better diet than everyone else. But what they found out was the only thing that made them stand out was that they fast 1 month out of every year. It's called Ramadan, where Muslims do not eat from sun up to sundown. So they go about 12 hours without eating, sometimes even more. And doing that for a month is enough to lower their cancer rates, to make them lower than anyone else's in the world. So you would think people would start looking into fasting. So let's look at a fasting schedule and let me show you what happens to your body when you fast. And this is free game, y'all, because it doesn't cost any money to fast. All right. Can you all see the screen where it says during fasting at the top? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of small though, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to try to make it bigger for y'all. I'm going to try to make it much bigger. All right. That's better?
Yeah.
All right. What happens to your body when you fast? Now, I'm going to tell you all that I do a 4-day fast every 3 months. Only drink water. Water and lime. Squeeze lime for 4 days. And I'm going to tell you all why, and you'll understand why. So look what happens to your body. The last time you eat, 4 to 8 hours, it takes for your blood sugars to fall, and all food has left the stomach, and insulin is no longer produced. So during this 4 to 8 hours, insulin is being produced. When insulin is being produced, your body is in an inflammatory state. So now imagine people who don't go more than 8 hours without eating. I mean, they go 8 hours. They don't go 8 hours or more without eating in their whole lifetime. That means that their body is always triggered in an inflammatory state. In 12 hours, food consumed has been burned, digestive system goes to sleep. So if you have not gone 12 hours without eating in your lifetime, that means your digestive system never went to sleep. The body begins its healing process at 12 hours. Human growth hormone begins to increase. That's when you can build the most muscle. Glucagon, that's just a form, is released to balance the blood sugars, okay? All right. At 16 hours, this is important. The body is ramping up fat burning. That's when it's making the switch to burning sugar and storing fat to burning fat. 18 hours, human growth hormone starts to rocket. That's when you can build muscle at the highest levels. At 24 hours, this is important, of not eating, autophagy begins. Autophagy is the process in which your body has cells that are released into your body that hunts and kills all of the bad and defective cells in your body, precancerous cells, viral cells, bacterial cells, all of the bad cells in your body goes into a state of literally scavenging and eating those cells. It's called autophagy. Ketones are released. Those are the fats that the body uses for energy. At 36 hours of not eating, sorry. That's just Fauci. I just had some things on Fauci. I got his number. Don't worry about that. At 36 hours, you get a 300% increase in autophagy. That means that you get 4 times the amount of activity of autophagy at 36 hours of not eating. At 48 hours, autophagy increases 30% more. Autophagy is very important because it takes years for cancer to form in your body. So this is the process of it eating all the cancerous cells and precancerous cells. All right, at 48 hours of not eating, you get a whole new immune system. Your immune system is reset and regenerated. And you get increased reduction in inflammatory response. So usually the way your body would react to inflammation, it gets decreased during this time. But you get a whole new immune system reset at 48 hours of not eating. Okay? Now that you all understand that, I'm going to show you all even a better chart now. You all are going to be blown away by this because this is what you can take into your own hands today. Not just the olive leaf extract, but this is what you take into your own hands, and the system knows about you that we don't have the discipline to do these things. So we don't even know about these things. We don't even know that fasting is actually a key to health. Watch this chart. Can you all see this chart?
Yes.
Fasting benefits over time with all the different colors on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Let me make it a little bit bigger. All right. All right. So the blue line is for the blood glucose and insulin levels. The red line is for autophagy and human growth hormone. Remember I explained to you what autophagy is. The yellow line is for weight loss and ketones. The green line is for intestinal stem cells. And the purple line is for the immune system reboot and to get musculoskeletal stem cells. All right? All right. These are the hours on the x-axis. And these are the levels of change of these different factors on the y-axis here. So x-axis is just time, right? So let's look at this. 24 hours or 25 hours of not eating. This is one day. Look what happens. You get an increase. Let's look at the purple. In immune system reboot after 24 hours of not eating. You get an increase of new intestinal stem cells. This is very important because of your digestive system. And most illnesses start in your stomach, in your gut. Let's look at one day, your blood glucose and insulin levels go down. This is very important because that means your body is losing its state of inflammatory state. It's not in an inflammatory state as much. This is the highest level of inflammation right here. That is 0 to 5 hours after you eat. And then it starts to go down 10 hours. Most people don't go 10 hours without eating. So most people stay here. And that's why you have metabolic disorder, which is insulin resistance, because your insulin's always at 100. It's always at 100. You're always making your insulin at 100 because of the foods that you're eating and how much you're eating and not giving your body a rest. You want it to actually go down here. So after one day, these are the levels that you're at. You even get some autophagy going on. You see it there, right? But let's see what happens if you go 2 days, 48 hours without eating. Look what happened in autophagy. You get a huge spike in autophagy, which is your body eating bad cells. But even for autophagy, at 3 days, you reach the peak. You see that? Does everyone see that?
Yes.
At 3 days, you reach the peak. 3 days of not eating, you reach the peak of autophagy, which is your body actually eating up the bad cells. cancerous cells, all of that. And in fact, people have reversed cancer with just fasting. You can just look that up. Fasting for cancer. You can see YouTube videos on people giving testimonials who reversed stage 3, stage 4 cancer with just fasting, because they're no longer feeding their body the things that are going to put them in a state of inflammation. And your body is so resilient that just doing this for a few days gives you a whole reset. But look at the purple line at 3 days. You get a whole new immune system at 3 days. See, but I go 100 days for a reason. Here's why I go 100 days. I do it every 3 months. Every fiscal quarter, I do a 4-day fast for 100 days. So 4 days is 96 hours. I go 4 more hours to hit 100. Why? Because at 100 hours, I have the lowest level of blood glucose and insulin. It's a whole new reset. I've got the highest level of intestinal stem cells. I've got the highest level of a new immune system. I peaked. Also, weight loss is very heavy. Every time I fast for these amount of days, 4 days, I lose about 15 pounds. You lose about 15 pounds in 4 days. As a matter of fact, if you fast for 36, when I fast for 36 hours, which is right here, I lose 5 pounds. And let me ask you all a question. I'm going to stop the screen share right now. How many miles do you think you have to run to lose 5 pounds? I just want to take guesses. Audience, how many miles do you think you have to run to lose 5 pounds of weight?
100. 300.
Okay. You need to run 81 miles to lose 5 pounds. That is literally running about 3 marathons to lose 5 pounds. But you could just fast for 36 hours. So what would you rather do? Not eat for a day and a half or to run 3 marathons? I'd rather not eat for a day and a half. But you're welcome to run 3 marathons if you want. I'm not doing that. I'd rather just not eat for 36 hours. But let's go back to the chart, y'all. This chart is a cheat code. If you want to fast for 3 days, this is where you're going to be. You're going to hit peak autophagy. You're going to be almost at your peak for new immune system. You'll hit high levels of new intestinal stem cells. It won't be as much as if you went to 4 days, but you'll still hit a nice level. You'll have a whole lot of weight loss at this point here at 3 days. Your blood glucose and insulin levels will be low, at least 70% lower than they were. And the key to health and fasting are really, to me, they're going to be, the blue is important. You want these blood glucose because remember what sugar does to the body. It causes inflammation. So you want these levels to go down low because inflammation is the biggest cause of these illnesses. But you also want autophagy to eat all the bad cells, precancerous cells, cancerous cells. This is very important. So if you're going to do a fast, at least do 3 days. The most, you can just do 4 days to get these benefits. But if you can do 3 days, that would be great because you would get a whole new immune system. So imagine being 70 years old, fasting for 3 days and getting a whole new immune system like you were a baby. For 3 days of fasting, you get a new immune system. 3 days of fasting, you can have your body eat up all the bad cells that's going on in your body that you don't even know about, cancerous cells included, for 3 days. And so why weren't we told this in terms of the general public? This is information that every single person can do. Every adult can be engaged in this activity of fasting at least once a year in your life. The other thing about fasting is that it is good to be able to do it when you're done You feel great because you no longer feel like you are a slave to food. It's a great feeling not to feel like you're a slave to food. And then you also find out that you don't even get hungry that much. Because during the fast, what happens is you might start to feel weak, but you're feeling weak because of a lack of electrolytes, not because you're hungry. And you start to realize that we only eat out of habit, not out of hunger. And a lot of times the hunger feeling that we have is we're thirsty because we're dehydrated. It'd be better for us to drink water when we're feeling hungry as opposed to eating food. So if you can just stop your eating habit, because you're not eating for nutrition, you're eating out of habit. If you can stop that habit, you will reverse your health. And if you can go 3 days and break that habit, you will have a new immune system. You will reach the heights of autophagy, and you will have much better health where you will start seeing no need for any of these medications. This is real. I deal with people every single day from all different sectors of life. I give them the advice, the ones who follow through. We've gotten the reversals in cancer, reversals in high blood pressure, diabetes, all of these things from people just following the protocol of not eating inflammatory foods. So you can just look up anti-inflammatory diet on Google, and those are the foods that you can eat, anti-inflammatory diet. And then you want to keep out all sugar-causing foods. You can eat fruit, you can eat fresh fruit because those are more complex carbohydrates. But you do not want to eat or drink fruit juices in boxes because they add sugar to it. If you want fruit juice, you're going to take it from the fruit itself and squeeze that fruit. Don't trust these people for nothing. And you're going to regularly fast, even if it's for a day to start with. You have to conquer your addiction to food because 90% of these illnesses are metabolic illnesses that cause inflammation. If it's metabolic, it means it's food illnesses. It'd be better if they just called it food illnesses. High blood pressure is a food illness. Cancer is a food illness, by and large. Diabetes is a food illness. Most of these illnesses are food illnesses, which means that now it is up to you to be a self-determined human being, to have discipline, to say, nah, I'm not eating that. Nah, I'm not doing that. Or no, I'm not even eating today. How about that? And guess what? When you start fasting, you start realizing how much money you waste on food. For real. You're going to love fasting. Your wallet's going to love when you're fasting. Because you're not wasting all this money on food that you're eating really just because of a habit. And they know your habits. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They know more about you than you know about yourself. They know you can't stay away from them chips. They know it. They know it. They know you love to sneak in a little slice of that cake that shouldn't be in your house anyway. They know you love the smell of Krispy Kreme donuts. They know that about you. They know that some of y'all still eating annihilators. I grew up in Chicago. We call them annihilators. But I found out late in life that they're actually called now and laters. But in Chicago, the Chicago accent, we say annihilators. Y'all still eating Snicker bars. Y'all still eating M&Ms. They know that about you. Listen, I know my people. They know you love them candy yams. They know it. That's why they know they can prescribe you all this medication. They know that there is no end in sight for the money that they're going to make. Because you're passing down, they'll say, oh, these diseases are hereditary. No, recipes are hereditary. You eating the food that your mama ate. Your children eat the food that you ate. So no, there's no wonder why diabetes runs in the family. Because the food runs in the family. Y'all eating the same food. That's why y'all are all sick together. The young ones ain't sick because their bodies are newer, but they're about to get sick. Your body can only take so much, and your body is literally sick and tired of you. Your body is doing everything it can to escape your habits. That's why you got high blood pressure. Your body's pumping blood at a higher pressure just so you can stay alive, whether you know it or not. That's why you got high blood pressure. You got all this inflammation going on in your arteries, and your heart is just trying to keep you alive in spite of you. And every time you go and eat that hamburger or that cake, that hamburger that's made with vegetable oil, or whatever you eating with vegetable oils and canola oil and syrup, whole and wheat pancakes and all that, the bacon that you like and all of that, your body is literally saying, oh, here we go again. She's doing it again to us. He's doing it again to us. So your body has to compensate. So this is the situation that we're in. Now that you've had it explained to you, the question is, what are you going to do about it? The decision is yours. I'm telling you why you're sick. Your body is an inflammatory condition that is chronic because of the food that you eat. The choice is yours now to eat different food, to start fasting. Many of you, listen, especially if you have African descent, we have resilient genes. Many of you all, if you just took some of these approaches, you all would live to be in your hundreds and still functional. This obesity is really very much of an American. I went to a fair the other day, like a county fair the other day, and I was just outside watching people. I would say about 70% of the people at the county fair that I went to in Florida were obese. 70%. 70%. Because Americans eat too much, and they eat too much of the wrong foods. So just about everybody's obese. And it is not, listen, it's not your fault because you never knew. The only reason why you're obese is because your body has been in fat storage stage too long. That's the only reason, because your body's just storing the fat from the food that you're eating because you haven't given it a break to burn fat. You haven't gone 12 hours without eating. So whenever I see someone who's obese, I don't even see them as obese. I just look at them and I say, oh, this is somebody who's been in fat storage stage for a long time, because you can see the pockets of fat. But when you start fasting, all that fat burns away without you doing anything, just sitting down. Literally, when you fast, your body is burning fat while you are sitting down doing nothing. So then some people are engaged in what you call intermittent fasting, where you have a window to eat every day. A 6-hour window, let's say, from noon to 6. So if you're somebody who's struggling with weight right now, I would strongly advise, and that is 70 to 80% of people in America, I would strongly advise you go on an eating window schedule. That means no food before noon, no food after 6 p.m. Just that gets you into an 18-hour window of fasting, because that's 6 hours of eating. But your body will be in fat burning stage from 12 hours on. So that means that every day you're doing 6 hours of fat burning. Do you all understand the math?
Yeah.
So if you just have, I'm just saying, try this for 1 month. Experiment with this. Just try it for 1 month. Say, before noon, all I'm drinking is water. And you can put lime in the water. It's a great cheat code for drinking water. It makes it taste real good. Just squeeze some fresh lime into the water for a month, for 30 days. No sugar, no white flours, no wheat, no white rice, no fruit drinks, no soda drinks, no vegetable oils, only coconut oil. Do that and only eat between noon and 6 p.m. Do that for 30 days. You can take olive leaf extract if you want to. That will energize the situation even more. That will accelerate the situation. But even if you didn't take the olive leaf extract, just this, you're going to lose weight. You are guaranteed to lose weight. At least in 30 days, you'll lose at least 10 pounds. Guaranteed. If you only eat from 12 to 6. Try it for 30 days and let that become actually a way of life. And then every 3 months, do at least 1 whole day of fasting. Take it to 2 days of fasting. Take it to 3 days. And then if you can't, take it to 4 days. I'm at 4 days. And when you're fasting, when you start to feel a little weak, you add a pinch of sea salt to the glass of waters that you're drinking. That would be like 1/4 of a teaspoon, and you drink it. What happens is that the weakness that you're feeling is the loss of electrolytes. And so the salt water adds electrolytes to your bodies and you feel yourself energized during your fast. That way you are able to fast for 4 days with no problem. And you trust me, when you hit day 2, you're not even hungry anymore. The only thing you might feel is a little weak, but you're not even hungry anymore. And before you do your fast, try to take the olive leaf extract because it'll cleanse parasites from your body. Because what you find out is that most of the hunger that you're feeling is actually your parasites in your body craving food, not you. And olive leaf extract kills parasites in the gut. So that is the cheat code to health. Fasting, having an eating schedule, 12 to 6. Try it. Don't eat before noon, don't eat after 6. Don't eat any sugar, don't eat any table salt, no vegetable oils. If you're gonna drink, just drink water with lime, fresh lime in it. And then every now and then, do a longer fast. Take your olive leaf extract every day. If you have high blood pressure, diabetes, any of these things, you will find that you will reverse the aging process. Me right now, I turned 51 this year. And if it wasn't for the gray hair that I had, I could pass for 25. People who know me and have seen me. I'm at the same weight that I'm at when I was 20 years old. I can even bench press more now at 50 that I could bench press when I was 25 years old. Because I understand the keys to health now. I have much more vigor, I have much more energy. I'm actually more fit at 50 than I was at 25, and I was an athlete when I was 25. But I had asthma also, and I ate everything. I used to eat Popeye's chicken like you don't know what. I should have owned stock in Popeye's chicken. So when I'm talking, I'm not talking from a place of ignorance or looking down. I used to be there. I used to eat just like everyone else. Donuts, all of that stuff. But I had to say enough was enough. And I started running experiments on myself. And I found that by taking vitamin D supplementation, by doing regular fasts, by using olive leaf extract, by staying away from inflammatory foods, I reversed the aging clock. I feel better than I've ever felt when I was in my 20s when I was in tip-top shape. I'm in better shape now, like I said. I can do more push-ups now. I bench press more than my body weight. My weight is at my fighting weight. I weigh 175 pounds. That's what I weighed when I was, I'm 6'1" at 175. And that's what I weighed when I was in my 20s in college. I'm sure a lot of us would love to have our bodies back when we were in college, right? Right? And what I'm telling you is that you can. You can have your college body back. You can. And I'm just telling you that if you do this for 30 days, you're going to see the difference. Particularly, a lot of the brothers here who are having certain issues, I'm telling you right now, all of that reverses when you start doing these things that I'm talking about. And I've had situations where actually, I'll tell you all a quick story and I'll end and we can get into questions. One of the first customers I ever had with the olive leaf extract was a man who had extremely high blood pressure, extremely high blood sugar, diabetes, and he was going to kidney failure. And basically, they said that he probably wouldn't live past a year, the way he looked. And when I met him, it was after a lecture. He was limping, and his wife came to me. Him and his wife, he was around 50. His wife was his college sweetheart. So they've been together for like 40 years. That was his high school sweetheart. So they've been together for 40 years. And he was basically a shadow of himself. He took the olive leaf extract. His blood pressure got normalized in 48 hours. He started getting his energy back within a week. He's calling me and he's at the beach. And he's having fun, enjoying his life. But then when he would call me, he would tell me that he wanted to meet me to get the olive leaf extract because he had to hide the olive leaf extract from his wife. I said, why is your wife? I said, why is she hiding it from you? I mean, I thought she would like it. She said, well, here's the thing. For the last 15 years that I've been sick, I haven't really been able to have sex with my wife because I was on all these medications and I had erectile dysfunction. And now I'm 18 years old again and I'm making up for lost time. And she can't take it. So what she's doing now is she's hiding the olive leaf from me. So I need to get it from you and keep it in my car where she doesn't have my car keys and come in and take it because she says that I'm an animal now and she can't take it. She's a 50-year-old woman. She's not the same 18-year-old girl that I met and she can't take it 3 times a day. And I'm trying to make up for lost time. So these are the stories that I get. Really funny anecdotes, but I'm just telling you that your youthfulness is being robbed from you from a system that does not care about the food that you eat or the medicines that they give you. And I'm just saying that if you just follow what I'm saying for 30 days, we've reversed cancer in 30 days. We've gotten tumors to be gone from the body in 30 days with this approach. We reversed diabetes in 30 days with this approach. So I'm just telling you, if you follow these recommendations for 30 days and just stick to it, you won't go back to your past life because you start to see that you're fitting into clothes a little differently. You start to see that you got energy a little bit differently. You're sleeping better because most of us, what I found out is that most people who have these illnesses also got sleep disorders. They have real problems sleeping. I meet people who say, I can't get a good night's sleep. I haven't had a good night's sleep for 20 years. Imagine what that does to the body. That's why so many people are so irritable, because if I don't sleep for one night, I turn into an animal. I'm short with people. I'm not polite. I'm rude if I don't get sleep. I'm very curt with people. So imagine someone who hasn't slept for 20 years in terms of a good night's sleep. What's going on with their emotions and their mood and their health. So again, I reiterate, timed eating window. Don't eat before noon. Don't eat after 6. Do that for 30 days. Don't eat sugar-forming foods. Stay away from table salt. Nothing with MSG. Chinese food restaurants, they love to use MSG, so you need to stay away from Chinese food restaurants. They use MSG in their seasoning and in their soy sauce. Stay away from fruit drinks. Stay away from vegetable oils. Only use coconut oil. Do this for 30 days. Take olive leaf extract. Do that for 30 days. Every 3 months, try to do a fast release 1 to 4 days. If you do this, you will live to be 100 and still vigorous. And notice this, obesity and age. Age selects against obesity. What do I mean by that? Have you ever seen an 80-year-old obese person? No. You know why? because obese people don't make it to 80. All people you see 80, 90, 100 years old, they're thin. Because age selects against obesity because fat cells is where pathogens live and thrive. So you got to get rid of all of that fat, and it's easy to get rid of it. I'm telling you all that it's easy to get rid of it. If you just follow these recommendations, your body's just in fat storage stage too much and never going into fat burning stage because you haven't gone more than 12 hours without eating in a long time. And fasting will make you lose more weight than working out. And that's real. Like I just showed you, you got to run 3 marathons to lose 5 pounds, or you could fast for 36 hours. The choice is yours. So that is about it. There's so much more, but I don't want to go too long. It's almost 10 o'clock and you all stayed and you all were real attentive. I hope everything I said was helpful. I hope it was understandable and digestible to the point where you can pass it on to other people. Thank you. Now, I can take any questions that people have.
So how do you take that extract?
Yeah, the olive leaf extract. So the way you take it is that you would just pour a capful in, or a teaspoon, and if you need more, you can take a tablespoon, and you can just put it in your mouth and then just chug it down with some water. Just like this. Chug it down with some water. Drink the water. You can take it 3 times a day.
But what happens if you're already on like blood pressure medicine?
Yeah, so what you do is this, is that everybody who has blood pressure issues should have their own blood pressure machine at home. That's number one. And the one that I recommend is called Omron, O-M-R-O-N. You're going to use that and take your blood pressure. Now, there are 2 sets of people who take the olive leaf when they have high blood pressure, excuse me. So there's some people who go cold turkey. That means that they discontinue their medication and just take the olive leaf. And then they test their blood pressure, make sure the olive leaf is working for them. Their blood pressure is at a healthy level. They just keep taking the olive leaf and making the dietary changes. And then over time, they don't even have to take as much of the olive leaf, and they just take the olive leaf as a supplement, like a food supplement that you take. Then the second class of people, they wean themselves off slowly of the medication. So let's say you take 25 milligrams of lisinopril or amlodipine. Well, you take the olive leaf, and maybe the first day you will take 12.5 milligrams. You cut it in half. Then you test your blood pressure. Blood pressure is good. The next day, you cut it in half again. From 12 milligrams to 6. Right? Blood pressure is good. Cut it in half again until you wean yourself off. You understand what I'm saying? So you find that, and what we found is that about 80% of people are successful with the olive leaf extract. And then there's another group of people who respond better to our other product called Moringa Lantro. And the Moringa Lantro, I think it's there in Baruch. Do you have the Moringa Lantro there to be able to show people?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so that, you take that and you would just mix that with almond milk, unsweetened almond milk, boil it as a tea, and you drink it. You mix it in as a tea and you drink it. And you want to use almond milk, unsweetened almond milk. And you drink that, or you could just use water for the people who don't mind the taste. But you take that, and I'd say about out of that 20%, another 85 to 90% of people get success in lowering their blood pressure. So we have a high success rate with lowering blood pressure. So we have the super strength there for you to take. Also, we'll be getting the maximum strength at a later date too. The maximum strength is what we really reserve for people with cancer and people with very, very high blood pressure, like 200 over 110 or something like that. But the super strength there is good for just about anybody. And if you're finding that the super strength isn't taking your levels down, then you want to try the moringa lantro, but you try the super strength first because the olive leaf extract works on much more than just blood pressure. It deals with all the other issues that your body might be dealing with as well. Any other questions?
Yeah, Brother Heru,
Yes.
you said we should avoid the seed oils and we should use coconut oil. What about avocado oil?
Yes, avocado oil is good. That is good. Avocado oil is good. So if you can't get, and remember, it has to be unrefined coconut oil, which is extra virgin or virgin coconut oil. If you can't get that, then avocado would be the second best choice. The reason why I recommend coconut oil, because coconut oil is also antibacterial and antiviral. Yeah. Yes.
How can you be contacted?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
How can you be contacted?
How can you do what?
Your contact information.
How can we contact you?
How can we
Oh, you can contact me. You can just go to my website, go to herbalresults.net, and you'll see the contact page there. And you can email me. We'll get back to you within 24 hours. And you all can feel free and just ask for me. I talk to anybody. I don't charge people to talk to them. So you don't have to worry about like consultations and nothing. I talk to all my people for free. So you can call me anytime you got questions, concerns, whatever. You can email me and then I'll get back to you. I like to do email, and here's why. To have a written record so that you can go back to see exactly what was written, because sometimes when you talk to people on the phone, they forget what you told them. So email is a better way to remember every single thing, because I'll give you the definitive steps. I'll give you links to everything. So it's better if you email me. If you want to call me, you can call me, but you can email me. And really, all you got to do is just go to the website, herbalresults.net, and go to the contact page and just send a message. Any other questions?
Does the green, does this product work for rheumatoid arthritis?
Yes. Anything that ends with itis is inflammation, so olive leaf will work for it. Rheumatoid arthritis. You got it now, right? It's a whole different way of thinking about health now that you understand what these words actually mean. Anything that ends with itis means inflammation. And if it's inflammation, that means it is actually a metabolic problem that has to do with the food that you're eating. So the solution will be take out the fire, take out the gasoline that's feeding the fire, and put in things that actually depress the fire, which is anti-inflammatory foods and herbs. So that way you'll be able to answer your questions without even having to ask me. Yeah, go ahead.
Another quick question. Why the water with lime instead of lemon? I've always heard to put lemon.
Oh, yeah. So I choose lime because I feel like lime tastes better than lemon, but you can use lemon. You know, I just like the taste of lime better than lemon. But you can test it out. I mean, everyone has different taste buds, but I don't know if you've ever tried water with lime, like squeeze lime inside of it. Try it, and I think you might agree with me. And I don't mean lime like on the side of the glass. I'm talking about squeeze it so the juice is dripping into the water, and then drink it. It actually it makes the water more alkaline as well. It alkalinizes the water. Any other questions?
And it's good for asthma, you said.
It worked on my asthma wonderfully. You guys, no more questions?
Thank you. One more.
Yeah.
What's wrong with wheat?
Could you repeat that?
What is wrong with wheat?
Oh, what is wrong with wheat? Let me tell you what's wrong with wheat. Wheat has gluten in it. Gluten is very inflammatory. The wheat that comes from the United States, almost 100% of it has glyphosate on it, Roundup. Before they harvest the wheat, they spray glyphosate on it. So most of the wheat that you're having actually has Roundup in it, which is a carcinogen.
John,
That's
you
poison.
hear that?
Weed killer.
Any other questions?
What about brown rice? That okay?
Yeah. So brown rice is better than white rice, but remember that it's a carbohydrate. So the best replacement for rice, if you like the texture and the taste of rice, especially if you come in, I don't know if you're coming from the Caribbean or somewhere, but yeah, all right, I knew that was a Caribbean man, right? Where Yardi?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I knew rice and peas, man. You know what I mean? So listen, all you have to do is substitute that, get cauliflower rice.
Yeah.
So what they do is they have cauliflower that they grind up and it's just like rice, but it's actually cauliflower. And you can cook your rice and peas with that, and it'll be a great substitute for rice, and it has no glycemic index. It is completely anti-inflammatory. They sell it at the local grocery stores. Just look for the frozen section, they'll have cauliflower rice.
All right.
One more
Right.
question. What about someone who took the shot?
Oh, okay. All right, for someone who took the shot. So what they're saying is, and I have it, I'd be able to show you very quickly, but I'll just tell you very because people are walking out. So the remedy that people the doctors who are conscientious are proposing and using for handling the bad effects of these mRNA shots is, guess what? Fasting.
Wow.
The reason is that to clear the body from the spike proteins that are being created from these mRNA shots, the best way to clear it is to put your body in a state of autophagy. And the only way that you can put your body in a state of autophagy is by fasting. So they're asking people to regularly fast so that your body can be thrown into a state of autophagy. And then your body will eat all of the bad cells, including the spike proteins, and have you get a reversal of the bad effects from the shot. You're welcome.
Good looking at. All right, Brother Heru. Greatly appreciate you, brother.
All right.
Appreciate it.